Hey, beloveds, boys and girls, other types, everyone. Just some notes before we go to work. What is happening now are, I think two things. Copies of the Alaria Rashatan code being distributed to those who don't have them. And in addition to that, they are the lyric sheets of Sushi's Water's Edge material that we'll be working with in prep for the Requiem Hour tomorrow. Now, because I'm the part of the family that tends to think beyond the next workshop, I took an executive decision this evening and decided not to keep you up between the hours of 1:30 and 2:30 Sunday a.m. practicing for the musical interlude sing-along, which we have to do tomorrow prior to the Requiem Hour. But instead have suggested, and people seem to agree, that a better plan is to present you with the lyrics this evening. There will be some point while you're dozing off to sleep that you can just do a quick scan of the lyrics before coming in to this room tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in order to do a couple of practice rounds so that you'll be up and running with the lyrics. That means you'll be able to carry Ash and I, because we won't be. But so that really you will have generated a substantial body of energy utilizing the BPRs. There will be an extension to Sushi's material because the beloveds have asked that two particular tracks from Taylor and Kiowa's material be included. In fact, track 5 of Hear the Sacred Call is a big period or punctuation mark in the entire cycle of preparation. And the House of La got a place in all of this, and Ash and I have got to figure that out overnight tonight. But anyway, Noel is briefed entirely, Mac is briefed entirely on what we're doing. Just be here at 10 a.m. to begin the musical interlude and the build-up to the Requiem Hour, okay? And you have lyric sheets, so you'll be able to really get into it. Now, as a result of this change in timing, it does mean that the ordinations tomorrow will have to be pulled forward along with the Crystal River Circle. So those of you who are involved in ordinations tomorrow need to be here. Are you doing ordinations first and then Crystal River after? Yeah. Okay, so ordinations begin at 9:15, right? The allowed time for that part of the day is 1 hour, but you've got 15 minutes of buffer before then. You need all of you to come in to begin the musical interlude practice, okay? Is that clear? No questions anywhere? All right. Now, I will do a read-through of the preliminary techniques that we're going to work with this evening. Now, the significance, really, of the prelim techniques, from my perspective, and I think everyone else's, is that under natural source-given circumstances, we would all incarnate, we would all move through the process of fetal integration and arrive in some physical form, carrying a living water seed within our biology. Because of the mutation, that has not been possible. None of us carry the living water seed, the little stash of hydrolase, that spark of source, you might think, that potential with which you work to co-create and manifest things that, in the name of the Christ, are for the benefit of all beings everywhere. And that is an entirely Christic principle. That's what the process of co-creation is built on, that you work for the benefit of all life everywhere. This evening, your living water seed will be returned to each and every one of you. One technical point that Ash asked me to clarify, because I don't believe it was incorporated in the Hethalon version of these techniques. Indeed, I've said to Noel this evening that it's safer to regard the Hethalon versions of what we're all going to do as prelims this evening as the original rough cut. And what we're doing tonight, without going through it line by line, looking for where the changes have occurred, subtle ones, small ones, and occasionally important ones. And the one that I wanted to comment upon It's not an auction, darling. Put your arm down. I'm not available. Where was I? Yes. Yes, the TIWA window. We have precise direction now on the TIWA window. So when we are referring it anywhere in the techniques to the location of the TIWA window, remember, it's a pentagonal shape. Okay, so it has like a little house roof with a point on the top. Okay, when we refer to the position in terms of distance, when I say 48 inches, which I remember is equivalent to 4 foot. But now I have my bus pass, I have trouble remembering the conversion. 48 inches or 4 feet is to the apex from above the fontanelle. Okay? So the point of the little pentagonal house is what we're speaking of, and that is 4 feet away from the top, from your fontanelle up to 4 feet above. Now, the angle of it is different for everyone. It's somewhere, if my arm looks like it's at 45 degrees, is that roughly 45 degrees? Right. Well, that's good enough because everyone's is different. It could be 33 1/3 if you're fancy. And it could be anything under 55 if you're serious. All right? Somewhere in that area. And we don't know. Only you know where it is. So it's somewhere like that. Okay? All right. They're the two technical things. The third one is simply to help you understand where the Kalea chambers really, really are. Because in part 2, step 12, you'll hear me refer to it and you go, what the heck is he talking about? And this is what we're talking about. Now then, these, right? Now all of this is occurring within the spirit body structure, okay? The Illuma Iridana. And here, right there, okay? They're the chambers we're talking about, the Allura chambers. No, the Kalea chambers, excuse me. And there are 6. And these correspond to the 6 directions. So you have one going up and down the vertical, which represents 2, right? You have one going this way, which represents 2. And you have one going through front out to back, which is the other 2 making 7. Oh, 6, yes, you're right. And just to, nothing like a bit of illumination. Now, this is the spirit body, okay? That is the larger body, okay, that holds the Kalea chambers down in here, in the center point. And just to remind you how the Allura Rashatan fits, and this is the code we're going to induce before we begin this evening, is like so. Sorry it's not quite straight, but I don't have an assistant like my beloved does. When I get promoted, when my line gets really clear, you know. Which reminds me, I did promise someone I would make a comment in passing, and I'm going to do it now. I ran a cracking line joking about it, and Ash could see me doing it, and she's saying, what the heck are you, what are you getting on that? And I said, I'm just seeing a whole bunch of things that I never really understood for a long time. And it's because of a situation that's developed over this last year, or 2 or 3, where this kind of concern for it has arisen, I guess. There is a phenomenon that Ash and I refer to as the ZZ phenomenon, or the ZZ entity. Entity implies more than one, too many, in fact. And ZZ is just shorthand for Azazel, the Azazel entity, right? The Azazel entity has been working with people close to the shield and others for quite a long time, longer than we've realized. And I'm going to keep this short for obvious reasons, but there are certain things I wanted to point out. The first thing is, I couldn't really understand why the British shield was as fragmented as it was, and why so many people would be ego-sensitive about their own peculiar combination of what spiritual identity, spiritual expression meant, and how there were so many tiny clutches of people propping each other up. And after I went through the thing that I've mentioned too many times for my own lack of embarrassment, I had this period of time where it was convenient for me to be received and used in the way I approved. I approved my being used by people. I was aware. I'm not silly. But I had this great privilege of serving, in some ways, in what has been described as the most spiritual healing centre in the whole of England. And I watched people being robbed of money in the name of the Christ and in the name of the masters who've communicated a message for you this morning. Hey, how about taking a short course and I'll tell you more? 50 quid, you know. And I'm not kidding. I don't think, in fact, I've grown a little bit. I don't need to say the name of the location. Some of you can probably guess. And then more recently, I'd noticed that there was a similar kind of cultural reflection, let's call it. We sent our finest and our worst to a place called Australia. The British sent their best and their worst. They sent the indigos who wouldn't accept authority. They wouldn't accept the manipulation of the governed, of the rich, of the privileged. And there were those who would take your guts out quicker than look at you. So Australia was populated by these kinds of people. Well, if you think about what happens when these people pool their genes, you get some interesting combinations. Not least of which, do you get combinations which make Azazel's job easy? Just as the Brits make Azazel's job easy. Because there are issues. And just keeping it very simple. If anyone in this room says they haven't got a button, come and talk to them about it later. Right? There is a button hidden somewhere in everyone here. And that is Azazel's business. It isn't a business that is conducted in the way of implanting you or any of the kinds of ways that we've heard about differentiating a good guy from a bad guy or a good girl from a bad girl. It is to do with the processes of accessing the emotional and mental body. And Azazel drools when he stimulates two people. And they engage in a process that is less than Christic. When in fact what they do, instead of supporting each other and finding Christic ways to resolve differences and conflict, they actually descend into Azaz's world. Not Azaz's world, not mine, I hasten to add. Don't get me at it. That is a different process. That process is subtle and immensely dangerous and has the potential to be incredibly damaging. If it involves people that don't have the guts, the common sense and the maturity to actually say this process that I'm engaging with this person is not their fault and it isn't my fault. What's going on? What is really happening here, right? I'm just giving you a heads up on a process that Ash and I have personally been involved in for a couple of years, learning as we go, because things have come to pass that we would find beyond comprehension, okay? And we're also aware of other brothers and sisters who've had similar experiences, and they have found them beyond comprehension, okay? All I'm telling you is for every difference of opinion, for every point of conflict, just say this to yourself. This isn't me and this isn't the world that I identify with or belong with. If it's coming from outside in the sense that it appears as if someone won't gives their power to you over an issue where you think you must have this or you want that or want the other thing and they won't give it to you, that isn't a Christic beginning in the process. However, it is not unreasonable or inappropriate to think that people in relationship, friends, not just lovers or husbands and wives, but people actually exist to assist each other, right? The only way that can happen is in a willing way. Now, you can negotiate a point of willingness, or you simply recognize it isn't going to be forthcoming, not inflict pain on yourself and another, and simply move on, because that's what you would do if you're using Eucharistic perception, right? And the general perspectives of self-management from that point of view. So, really, I'm just making a point because I actually made a commitment to someone who suffered as a result of a process that hasn't been mentioned or brought forward, okay? It does tend to occur in places where you have complex gene sets in older cultures, certainly. I don't see quite the same tendencies occurring in the younger American culture, but there has been plenty of evidence for it in history without dragging up things about racism and stuff like that. I hope I've made my point quickly, briefly, and gently. As we move through the techniques this weekend in great particular, And if, as I have said before, it's one thing to do a technique and activate all your bits and pieces. It's quite another thing for you to actualize that. And what does actualize that mean? It means you make a shift in consciousness. You accept the new resource that you've been given. And you work at drawing and holding whatever that advantage or gain is. If you don't, and you just think you're stuffing it in the rucksack and you wander around and not change a thing, you probably find you've got a leak in your rucksack. You have to work it. You can't sit on your butt just waiting for it all to happen. This is not a spoon-fed process. I mean, bless you, you've been with the work now, many of you, for almost 8 years. You understand this is a self-feeding process, not one where Az and Ash and Mac and everybody else stands up front and gives you a dollop and everything's fine. This is not an automatic fix-it process. You are the people who are fixing things, beginning with yourself. You all know that, but we all forget from time to time. Every one of us forgets that from time to time. Well, I'm just reminding you tonight from time to time. These techniques are the most powerful, deep-reaching techniques that we've ever been allowed to have. And I'm just saying to you, as I say to myself, speaking to me through you, don't waste the opportunity. Okay? Hey, in Australia, hear me. Kiss and make up, or take a vacation. Oh, yes. Sorry. One thing that I forgot. After this session, there'll be just a comfort break. Ash should be pretty tight to time, so I will go upstairs and hopefully just bring her right back. So we'll just take a short comfort break. Now then, when the technical lecture is completed this evening, that's when Ash is finished. There'll be another comfort break. And then it will be time to go out for a lie down for the very long one, okay, where any comfort that you need, cushions or blankets or whatever, and the headsets, okay, they'll be a necessary part for the final leg of the evening where we'll be lying down. Just leave the chairs where they are, all right. So there will be a short break when Ash is finished this evening where you just need to pick up any things you need, like the headsets and comfort things, okay? Now then, I'm going to do not a slow, but a reasonably moderated read-through of the two techniques we're going to do now. Now, this is Slider's technique and Slider's 2 prep. I'm reading technique B. Technique A is the induction of the Alaria Rashatan code. Okay, so I can't read that out to you very well. Just quickly and briefly, before we go further, if you just focus on the Alaria Rashatan code, just briefly, and take as many breaths as you feel comfortable with. 3 will be quite sufficient. Inhale into your Azare and just imagine you're expanding the encryption of the code into your immediate and wider anatomy on the exhale. Now, what we're working with now, as I said, this has changed and it contains differences from the Heathalon version of the Tiwa materialization seed. That's the creation of. This is a consolidated format adapted from the techniques referred to as the elemental communication using encryption and the TWS seed planting of the seed for personal materialization. And these would run live during the first Sliders workshop. So this has been refined and improved and added to. Both of them have, actually. So this begins with your personally choosing something you desire to materialize, which can be an object, a healing focus, that's for self or other, a personal life circumstance or condition, or anything that is Christic that you personally desire. You begin by slowing your breathing and slowing your biorhythms. Close your eyes and create a mental image of your intended desire. And at this point, you remember perhaps that here is a time where you essentially emotionally charge. You're using a process of charging with the emotion and intention of the creation that you want to work with. So you create an image of yourself already having the desire. In your mental image, see yourself with the object, experience, or condition that you want to create, making the process and the outcome as tangibly real as you possibly can. Next step, you imagine that your desire image is now a two-dimensional still photograph printed on very thin paper, and hold the image of the photograph on the inside of your forehead, the 6-eye position. Inhale and exhale, using the exhale breath to push a portion of your energy as a cloud of consciousness through and behind the image of the photograph. You would then breathe normally and imagine that you're looking at the back side of the photograph, observing that on the back side of the photograph there is a pattern of light dots. These represent the hydroacoustic dot matrix radiation encryption of the photo image and the inherent desire associated with it. You would then inhale, then exhale, using the exhale breath to push your consciousness cloud back through the dot matrix back side of the photograph. This allows you to pick up the infrasound heat imprint of your desire photo encryption. And then you'd return to normal breathing, return your focus to observing the front side of the photograph on the inside of your forehead. From the infrasound heat imprint of your desire photo encryption that you picked up on your return passage, you will be able to derive a triad or trine, which is a set of 3 points of core feeling held within the desire photo encryption. The trine holds as an infrasound feeling encryption of the deeper desires hidden beneath and within your chosen desire. The trine infrasound encryption will appear within your consciousness field inside your head as a minute dot of light that represents its heat signature. You locate your trine by first moving the desired photo image on the inside of your forehead over to the left, that's the left as you're looking out, to clear the center view area on the inside of your forehead, and then next mentally scan the center view area to find the tiny dot of light trine, which will show up in contrast against the darkness of your center view area. When you locate the minute trine in your center view area, mentally move it directly to the center point of the center view area and enlarge it to see its triangular form with 2 heat dots as the bottom feet and 1 heat dot centered at the top. You would then inhale upward from the azure into the trine image and then exhale slowly and gently, using the breath to further enlarge the trine to basketball size while pushing it forward through your forehead until it is positioned on the outside in front of your forehead. You would inhale using the breath to draw the enlarged trine downward to the azure region and into your body. Exhale, then return to normal breathing. With the enlarged trine positioned in your body in the azure region, you would feel its energy, reality within you, using the trine's energy signature to help you find 3 simple words that will best describe the overall qualities of what having the experience of fulfillment of the desire will bring you. Just simple words such as joy, happiness, fulfillment, Christic self-expression, that thing, solid, clear line, any of those things. And it's okay to ask for things that you would most value in your own commitment to service in order that you can be a benefit, a greater benefit. That's not a trick. It is a very Christic, sharp way of looking at using your manifestation powers. Because if you can activate yourself to a appropriately influential level Just consider how much healing you can bring to so many people. So why use this opportunity to send healing to someone you love to bits, when in fact, without detriment or discredit to people you do love to bits, the person you need to love to bits most is you. It's not tricky, it's simple. You get that part right, and you can do so much good for so many life forms and so many forms of planetary grids in need of your support and help. Just think, before we do this formally, what you ask for. Be careful. Now then, we would next inhale into the Azure to contract the enlarged trine back into a small but visible image, then using the exhale to push the trine image back upward into its original position at the center point of the center view area on the inside of your forehead. Bring to mind the 3 words you had picked to best describe the overall qualities you will receive on fulfillment of your desire. Of the 3 words, choose 1 word that has the most emotional significance to you and mentally place it at the top heat dot of your triangular trine image, and then place the remaining 2 words at the bottom feet positions, and it doesn't matter which way round they go at the bottom. The key thing is the most important of the 3 words goes at the top. Next, find a single word that would represent all of the 3 identified qualities combined. Now you see why I'm reading this out before I let you do it. The highest quality of all 3 qualities put together. This is the power word that represents and includes within itself the entirety of the outcome you are aiming for in fulfillment of the desire. The power word will become the desired encrypted spark that will form when the trine phases. So, to phase the trine, we would inhale into the Azure, using the inhale breath to bring the 2 words in the bottom feet positions of the trine together into the center, beneath the top position word or dot at the apex, and hold the breath at the top of the inhale. Then as the trine phases like this, notice that a big starburst spark carrying the power word occurs when the bottom feet collide. Exhale gently upward, using the breath to draw the starburst spark and the trine together, and move them downward into the Azure. Breathe normally and observe the spark and trine have become a singular sphere of multicolored energy spinning within the Azure. This desire sphere will become the core of your materialization seed, which will become the Jaron seed core. And that's in Technique C, opening the pentagonal Tio window. That follows this. Observe the colors of the spinning sphere and remove any colors that do not feel right to you, and add any colors you feel might be missing. Observe the inner sound of the sphere and add, subtract, or alter it to harmonize its frequency to your own liking. Once you are content with the characteristics of your desire sphere, inhale into the Azure, using the breath to tightly contract the desire sphere into a tiny nodule of compressed energy within the center of the Azure. Exhale gently, allowing the tiny nodule to remain in your Azure, where it will become the core desire of your Jaron materialization seed for use in Prep Technique C. And that is all for this one. So I suggest that you take just a couple of minutes. In listening to the technique run through, you're now familiar with the key requirement of having this technique work to the maximum degree that you're possible of having it be, yes? Now, I'm going to give you just a minute or two to formulate what the object of this exercise is going to be for you, what 3 words you're most going to work with, which of the 3 words will be the apex dot, and what force word will convey most emotional power as it represents the 3 that you're going to choose, yeah? Now, I'm not going to rush you, this is too important. So we'll take a couple of minutes where individually you can just have a think about what it is you'd like to do, what you're going to call it, what each of the 3 key words are going to be, and what the force word that carries the energy, the charge of the whole manifest intention. Okay? And then we'll do it. everybody just about ready? No one needs a few more seconds? Okay. All right. Now we will take it that you've chosen something you personally desire, which will form the core of your materialization seed on this particular occasion. This materialization seed will become the Jaron seed core, which will form the basis of Technique C, which is the one that follows this particular technique. Now just bring your attention to your breathing, if you will, please. Try and just modulate the rhythm, slow it. About 50% of what you call normal, if you can manage that. Close your eyes, please. And now, having closed your eyes, please create a mental image of what it is you have determined to desire this evening. Now create an image of yourself already having realized this desire, having this fulfillment of desire with you right now. See yourself joyfully with whatever this outcome is, be it an object or an experience, a condition, an event, whatever. And just briefly try to concentrate as much feeling and emotion into the image as you can, making it as tangibly real as you possibly can. Now imagine that your desire image has become a two-dimensional still photograph printed on very thin paper, and hold the image, would you please hold the image of this photograph on the inside of your forehead, at the third eye. Now inhale and hold just briefly to build charge, and on the exhale, push a portion of your energy as a cloud of consciousness through and behind the image of the photograph. When you've done that, just breathe normally. And while you're breathing normally, imagine that you are looking at the back side of the photograph. Observe that on the back side of the photograph there is a pattern of light dots, which represent the hydroacoustic dot matrix radiation encryption of the photo image and the desire that you imprinted there. Now inhale and hold, and on the exhale, hold to build charge. On the exhale, use the breath to push your consciousness cloud back through the dot matrix backside of the photograph, allowing you to pick up the infrasound heat imprint of your desire encryption. Return to normal breathing. And then return your focus to observing the front side of the photograph on the inside of your forehead. Just breathe easily now. Now from this point you will be able to derive a triad or trine, which is a set of 3 points of core feeling held within the desire photo encryption. The trine holds it as an infrasound feeling encryption of the deeper desires hidden beneath and within your chosen desire. The trine infrasound encryption will appear within your consciousness field inside your head as a minute dot of light that represents its heat signature. Locate your trine by first moving the desire photo image on the inside of your forehead over to the left to clear the view of the center area on the inside of your forehead. Next, mentally scan the center view area to find the tiny dot of light trine, which will show up in contrast against the darkness of your center view area. When you locate the minute trine in your center view area, mentally move it directly to the center of the center view location. And then enlarge it by intention, or literally if you can manage it. Just enlarge the photo image embodied within the trine. See its triangular form with 2 heat dots as the bottom feet and 1 heat dot centered at the top. Now, if you've had a little difficulty finding your minute trine, simply place the image of the triangle in the center point of your center view area, and the image will draw in, it will pull in your missing trine. So just set a triangle in the center point of your third eye region. Now, next will be an inhale breath. Just continue to breathe gently for a minute. You will inhale upward from the azure into the trine image, and then, having done that, you will exhale slowly and gently, using the breath to further enlarge the trine to a basketball size triangle, while pushing it forwards through your forehead until it is positioned on the outside in front of your forehead. So inhale up from the azure into the trine image. Just hold briefly to build a little charge, and then exhale slowly and gently, using the breath to enlarge the trine to basketball size while pushing it forwards through your forehead until it's on the outside in front of your forehead. Now the next inhale, not yet, on the next inhale breath, you will use it to draw the enlarged trine downward to the azure region and into your body, and then exhale naturally and return to normal breathing. So inhale now, using the breath to draw the enlarged trine downward to the azure region and into your body fully. And when you're ready, exhale gently and just return to normal breathing. Now, with the enlarged trine positioned in your body in the azure region, just try to feel for its energy reality that is now residing within you, using the trine's energy signature to help you find 3 simple words that will best describe the overall qualities of what having the experience of fulfillment of the desire will bring you. Inhale into your azure to contract the enlarged trine back into a small but visible image, then exhale, using the breath to push the trine image back upward into its original position at the center point of the center view area on the inside of your forehead. Now bring to mind the 3 words you had picked to best describe the overall qualities you will receive upon fulfillment of your desire. Choose one of these 3 words that has the one that has the most emotional significance to you, and mentally place it or pin it at the top heat dot of your triangular trine image. And then, when you've done that, place the 2 remaining words or pin them in the bottom feet positions of the triangle. At this point, you now have an intention-loaded trine phase set. At this point, we now need to find a single word, this is the 4th word, that will represent all of the 3 identified qualities combined, the highest quality of all 3 qualities put together. This power word will represent and include within itself the entirety of the outcome you are aiming for in fulfillment of the desire. The power word will become the desire encrypted spark that will form when the trine phases. we'll move on to phasing the trine. To phase the trine, and I'll read this through and then we'll do it. We'll inhale into the Azare, using the breath to bring the two words in the bottom feet positions of the trine together in the center, beneath the top position word, and hold the breath at the top of the inhale. As the trine phases, notice that a big starburst spark carrying the power word occurs when the bottom feet collide. So the phasing is a momentum. It isn't something you just do once and it's over. You actually initiate the phasing, and it will move and move under its own power, the power that you've given it. So inhale into the Azare now. Bring it, using this inhale to bring the two words in the bottom feet positions together in the center, beneath the top position word. Hold the breath at the top of the inhale. The trine is phasing now. Phasing, moving the lower legs, in other words, are moving in and out. Now, at some point, as the trine's phasing like this, when the bottom feet collide, you may feel or notice a big starburst spark, which is carrying the power word, occurs. Now exhale gently, downward, using the breath to draw the starburst spark and the trine together and move them downward into the Azare. Take one more small inhale, one gentle inhale, and move this all down into the Azare. Breathe normally and observe that the spark and the trine have become a singular sphere of multicolored energy spinning within the Azare. This desire sphere will become the core of your materialization seed. Now you can see or feel the colors of the spinning sphere, and you're entitled to remove any colors that do not feel right to you. And you're equally entitled to add any colors you feel might be missing. Observe the inner sound of the sphere, and as you do, add, subtract, or alter it, harmonizing the frequency to your precise liking. Once you are content with the characteristics of your desire sphere, inhale into the Azare, using the breath to tightly contract the desire sphere into a tiny nodule of compressed energy within the center of the Azare. Hold just briefly. Now you'll be exhaling gently in a moment, and when you do, gently allow the tiny nodule to remain in your Azare, where it will become the core desire of your Jaran materialization seed, which we will work with some more in the next technique. Okay. There is one where we kind of have to play windmills with the pentagonal shape, where we have to go from one part through the right foot and then do something and bring up through the left foot and then do a pirouette and come back. And it's going to be so fun when we get to that. So fun, can you imagine? But it isn't the next one. Next one isn't that one. The next one is called Sliders number 1 technique and Sliders 2 prep technique. C, opening the pentagonal Tiwa window and conscious materialization. And I'll do a read-through for you once more. The purpose of this technique is the pentagonal Tiwa window is the passage between the Asia Hydra acoustic body Rasha seed, the Rasha body prana seed, central vertical column and pineal of the matter body. This technique opens the Katheric translation dot 4 fontanelle, allowing the mental body ego and body to receive the density 1 Tiwa flows from the density 1 3.5 I am God self fields. And it is the same procedure for Tiwa materialization once the Tiwa window is open and can be used to seed your Christic desires whenever you like. It is also the personal preparation step for Aquatone Hydra Acoustic Level 1 client sessions. So this is just a read-through, so you don't have to do anything quite yet. So we'll open with the Rasha era Christ star now, 3 times. Usual routine: inhale, hold at the top of the inhale, exhaling forcefully, pushing the Christ-star out, repeating it again for an amp, repeating it again for a third time, and then shifting your same size bilocation body to sit up top of the Azura shield, and like that. Now, the technique begins with opening the window and or initiating the materialization once the window is open. So we do this by holding in mind the Tiwa plate image or intention you desire to manifest. And if necessary, let your first intention to be to open the window if you've not done this once before. You would then inhale slowly and deeply from your Iombi, fill lungs completely with air and let your tummy expand out, imagining that a pale blue-white prana stream emerges into your Azure from your Rasha body and merges with your golden Xeon and silver Jari light points within the seed atom, forming a golden silver 1 Eon stream of eternal I Am God self-consciousness spiraling within your Azure. Now, while holding the inhale, you would focus your mind on your desired intention and mentally move the intention into the Azure, filling it with golden silver light. You then exhale slowly into the Azure, then inhale swiftly, causing a 12-point Eon stream to pop from the Azure into your 12 Allurian chambers. Imagine 12 prana-carrying Eon stream currents expand outward from the Azure into your 12 Allurian chamber lines, carrying your desire with them as they travel outward into the Asia Hydra acoustic body to spark the orons at the chamber's ends. And this brings prana into the Asia body. You would hold the breath at the top of the inhale while sensing your orons sparking as your desire becomes surrounded by a pentagon-shaped Tiwa plate upon intersecting with the orons at the ends of the Allurian chambers. Exhale firmly, you would, from the Azure, pushing a 12-point pulse of golden mana light outward from the Xeon spark in your Azure and into the 12 light body fire chambers, which run between the 12 Allurian chambers. You would hold at the bottom of the exhale for a moment as the fire chamber mana currents race outward to interface with the refracted, split prana chi and ki backflow currents that are now returning inward in the fire chambers toward your Azure as the mana currents move outward. You would sense or seek a sparking sensation to occur all around your body, about 3 inches away from the skin. When you feel the sparkling sensation, inhale firmly and imagine that the 12 Tiwa vortices are now spinning rapidly, 1 on each Allurian chamber line, in the Tiwa fields in the outer Asia body as your Tiwa plate engages pentagonal transduction for atomization. Exhale slowly and gently and feel the sensation of the Tiwa vortices stopping spin as they each gently release a bubble cloud of golden silver desire encrypted atoms into the 3-dimensional I Am accretion bands of the light body. You would then breathe a few gentle breaths and focus upon sensing the millions of minute sparkles of atomic light building to form a beautiful sparkling golden silver blue endoplasmic cloud within the I Am bands of your light body. Once you can sense a significant quantum buildup of the 3-dimensional layers of ion clouds, then engage a firm 6-point inhale, drawing the sparkling atoms from the 3-dimensional I Am layers simultaneously into the large spinning 6-point Kalea diagram. Kalea. Yep. Okay. From the 6-point Kalea chamber set of the spirit body and then into the Azure. What? What? I did not. Where did I say that? I can't even see it on the page. As usual, I'll take your word for it. And then we would backwardly exhale, or exhale firmly backward, depending, pushing the sparkling atomic desire cloud horizontally backward out the rear Bardoa chamber into the exhale breath, seeding the cloud into the Jaffa of the spirit body. Okay? Yeah. Release the desire cloud gently into the Jaffa and slowly inhale back to the Azure. Take a few relaxing breaths, release the thought of the seeded desire, and clear your mind for a moment. Then try to sense a vibrating ripple occurring around the outermost skin of your Asia body. Ajay. Ajay, I say, Ajay. As your spirit body prepares to release, a 12-point atomic hydrolayers living water bursts through the Illyrian chamber organs and downward into the Illyrian chambers. Got it? Okay, but I'm going to read it slowly next time. When you sense the vibrating ripple, bring a slow, wait a minute. When you sense the vibrating ripple, bring a slow, deep inhale breath into the Azure and hold at the top of the inhale as you feel the soothing 12-point inflow of pale aqua blue living water move into your Azure. You would then exhale gently, noticing what sensations your skin may experience as the living waters flow into your etheric body. Breathe then in a relaxed manner and turn your attention toward the window area upward and behind your physical head, and notice a sparkling gold and silver pentagonal tear window has opened within your Tiwa field. Gold and silver pentagonal Tiwa window has opened within your Tiwa field about 72 inches or 6 feet upward and behind your head. Pardon? Are we on the 48 and 4 here, or 72 and 6? Well, there are two that we've been working with, 72 and 48. Yeah. That's why I looked over, because for a moment I was confused. But there are two measures there. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No crisis in confidence up here on my own. Anyway, we continue relaxed breathing. You know how it is. And observe a beautiful wide beam of gold and silver light is shining downward, at last, from the Tiwa window to completely cover your head and the back of your shoulders as your personal I Am God Self band opens, surrounding your head with a gold and silver halo of light. Then we would follow that with an inhale of this gold and silver light downward through the duct 4 fontanelle and down to your Azure, where the gold and silver window stream interfaces with the living waters in your Azure. You would hold this breath at the top to amp and collect the gold and silver light and pale aqua blue waters into a tennis ball size Jaron seed sphere at the Azure. In parens, and I won't read this during the technique, once formed, a spark of Jaron will permanently remain at the Azure as your endoplasma eternal living water seed, which we mentioned at the very beginning, through which you enter the world of conscious, Christic, elemental co-creation. Having held this breath for too long, you will then exhale firmly downward, using the breath to push the Jaron seed rapidly downward into Earth's Rasha core, then give a final exhale puff to push the Jaron seed into the core of Median Ascension Earth. And at this point, you will have just given birth to your own conscious Partiki seed. Inhale gently back to the Azure, holding to build and amp, then release a spark of gold and silver light downward into your planted Jaron seed, sending in the encryption that will create Partiki 2 to set the seeder cycle in motion. At that point, relax with gentle breathing and lean into the expanded peaceful space of your I Am God Self band by drifting your mental focus a bit upward and backward to that space. The gold and silver light beam will fade from shining once the creation is set, but the Tiwa window will always remain open for future creation. Okay, we ready to do it? Okay then. the first little part where we do the Rasha Era Christ Star now, 3-step inhale, hold, then exhale, then 2, then 3. Just do that cycle of your own Rasha Era Christ Star the way you like doing it most. Just do that, and then we'll go to step 1. Okay, let's go open the pentagonal Tiwa window. Hold in mind the Tiwa plate image or intention you desire to manifest. Inhale slowly and deeply from your Iyumbi. Fill your lungs completely with air and let your tummy expand out. And imagine that a pale blue-white prana stream emerges into your Azare from your Rasha body and merges with your golden Xian and silver Jari light points within the seed atom, forming a golden silver 1 eon stream of eternal I Am God Self-Consciousness, spiraling within your Azare. While holding the inhale, focus your mind on your desired intention and mentally move the intention into the Azare, filling it with golden silver light. Now exhale slowly into the Azare. Then inhale swiftly, causing a 12-point eon stream to pop from the Azare into your 12 Alarian chambers. Imagine 12 prana-carrying eon stream currents expand outward from the Azare into your 12 Alarian chamber lines, carrying your desire with them as they travel outward into the Ajay hydroacoustic body to spark the orons at chamber's end. Hold at the top of the inhale. Where is the inhale? So I think inhale and hold at the top of the inhale while sensing your oron sparking as your desire becomes surrounded by pentagon-shaped Tiwa plate upon intersecting with the orons at the ends of the Alarian chambers. Now exhale firmly from the Azare, pushing the 12-point pulse of golden mana light outward from the Xian spark into your Azare and into the 12 light body fire chambers that run between the 12 Alarian chambers. Hold at the bottom of the exhale a moment as the fire chamber mana currents race outward to interface with the refracted split prana chi and ki backflow currents that are now returning inward in the fire chambers towards your Azare as the mana currents move outward. Sense for a sparking sensation to occur all around your body about 3 inches away from the skin. When you feel the sparking sensation, inhale firmly and imagine that 12 Tiwa vortices are now spinning rapidly, one on each Alarian chamber line, in the Tiwa fields in the outer Ajay body as your Tiwa plate engages pentagonal transduction for atomization. Exhale slowly and gently and feel the sensation of the Tiwa vortices stopping spin as they each gently release a bubble cloud of gold and silver desire-encrypted atoms into the 3-dimensional I Am accretion bands of the light body. Now just breathe gently for a few moments and focus upon sensing the millions of minute sparkles of atomic light building to form a beautiful sparkling golden silver blue endoplasmic cloud within the I Am bands of your light body. Just take a few seconds longer, sensing the millions of minute sparkles of atomic light, building to form a beautiful sparkling golden silver blue endoplasmic cloud within the I Am bands of your light body. And in a few seconds more we will engage a firm 6-point inhale. And with that, we'll draw the sparkling atoms from the 3-dimensional I Am layers simultaneously into the large spinning 6-point Kalea chamber set of the spirit body and then into the Azare. So, 6-point inhale, draw in the atoms from the 3-dimensional I Am layers simultaneously into the spinning 6-point Kalea chamber set of the spirit body and then into the Azare. Hold at the top of the inhale until you sense the 6 Kalea chambers have slowed in spin and completed their own inhale of the atomic cloud, and imagine a small, dense, sparkling endoplasmic atomic cloud accreting around your Azure. Now, the exhale is firmly backward, pushing the sparkling atomic desire cloud horizontally back out the rear of the Bardoa chamber with the exhale breath, seeding the cloud into the Jaffa of the spirit body. Release the desire cloud gently into the Jaffa and slowly inhale back to the Azure. And then take a few relaxing breaths. And through these, release the thought of the seeded desire and clear your mind for a moment. Then try to sense a vibrating ripple occurring around the outermost skin of your density Asia body as your spirit body prepares to release a 12-point atomic hydrolase living water burst through the Elurian chamber orons and downward into the Elurian chambers. When you sense this vibrating ripple, bring a slow, deep inhale breath into the Azure and hold this at the top as you feel the soothing 12-point inflow of pale aqua blue living water move into your Azure. Now exhale gently and notice what sensations your skin may experience as the living waters flow into your etheric body. Breathe in a relaxed manner and then turn your attention towards the window area upward and behind your physical head. And notice a sparkling gold and silver pentagonal Tiwa window has opened within your Tiwa field about 6 feet upward and behind your head in the way we described it earlier this evening. Continue with relaxed breathing and observe a beautiful wide beam of gold and silver light is shining downward from the Tiwa window to completely cover your head and the back of your shoulders as your personal I Am God Self band opens, surrounding your head with a golden silver halo of light. Now inhale this golden silver light downward through your duct 4 fontanelle and down to your Azure, where the golden silver window stream interfaces with the living waters in your Azure. Hold at the top of the inhale to amplify and collect the golden silver light and pale aqua blue waters into a tennis ball sized Jaron seed sphere at the Azure. Now exhale firmly downwards, using the breath to push the Jaron seed rapidly downward into Earth's Rasha core. Then give a final exhale puff to push the Jaron seed into the core of Median Ascension Earth. And at this point, you have just given birth to your own conscious Partiki seed. Inhale gently back to the Azure. Hold to build charge. And then release a spark of gold and silver light downward into your planted Jaron seed, sending in the encryption that will create Partiki 2 to set the seeder cycle in motion. And now breathe gently and lean into the expanded peaceful space of your I Am God Self band by drifting your mental focus a bit upward and backward to that space. The gold and silver light beam will fade from shine once the creation is set, but the Tiwa window will always remain open for future creation. Just for those who really need to, Ashley's just suggesting she needs 5-minute bathroom break. So anybody, well, you've all got to go to the toilet at the same time. Okay, fine, go. Go on, off you go. Shoo. Back in 5, not more than 10 then. Those of you that need to go out. Thank you.
Are we ready? Yay. Hello. Are the Mylars ready? Thank you, darling. There we go. Now, to pick up where we left off before dinner. All right, what I'm going to do is I have quite a hefty package of Mylars here. I'll feel out which ones are most important to get us to the point where we do the first big technique tonight. I don't want to take you know how I go on tangents that last forever. I don't want you to be so tired by the time we get done with this when you're going into that first big technique. So what I want to accomplish most with this set of Mylars. So if you see me flip through ones fast, that's just, we'll touch base with those if they're important tomorrow and the rest of the program. But for now, I want to get you through to the point where there's certain things you understand about how the Ajay body works and how the flows work, and particularly when you hear words in the technique that will come, they have to do with, I have to keep seeing it in my head before I can remember how to pronounce it, the pentagal circulations. These have to do with the dimensional level of the star-shaped circulations. We're going to show you what those star-shaped circulations are about, because these are actually the things through which the Jaleesic sparks of literally radiation are made that then come together, and the spark clouds are made through them, and they come together and they actually form the atoms, and each one of the fire chambers and also the Illyrian chambers create sets of them. So this is literally the atomic manufacturing machine. Our bodies have one, the planetary body has one, the solar body has one, and then there's exchanges of the atoms each of us make that happen in the natural circulation of energies between person and planet, between planet and sun, between sun and galaxy, etc., etc. So I want most to get you familiar with those things, so when you go into the technique, you'll know what flows are referring to, and won't just have to go, okay, whatever that is, right? It's activated, whatever it is, you'll know a bit about it. And also, we are going to introduce the information about what has happened to the biofields and how it creates something called the Jarosh and the Mani, that are types of matter that are not supposed to be there at all, and how those forms of matter trap a portion of our own natural Jari, the part of our spirit that's embedded in and makes up the natural matter units. And we'll see what the caduceus flow looks like and those kind of things. Because when we start the techniques that begin tonight with the slide 2 level techniques, it is going to do what we did for the D3 level as far as the caduceus flows. It's going to release the D2 level of the caduceus flows in the body. So we're going to look at those a little bit, and also how they get there as far as with the planet and how that's caused. So I'm just going to get on with flipping through the Mylars. Some of them you'll just see I'll say this, and then bye, it's gone again. Don't worry about it. We don't have to read all the stuff on them. It's just up to touch base with that bit of information that pertains to the next, okay? So this one is just reminding us about that two-sheeter Mylar that went through all the different stages by which consciousness progressively translates and then transfigures into the different types of matter, from pre-substance all the way to pre-matter, and then up to the 4 different types of matter. This is the simple rundown. It's the summary of that chart. So it starts out as eternal source consciousness field, which is called Etaor consciousness. Then it goes to the plasms, which are the 5 pre-substance types. They're the ones that are formed in the physical atomic body. So when the physical atomic body is mutated, it literally mutates the entire structure of matter formation right from the plasms all the way up through. Right? We have next protoplasms, which are the first pre-substance compound element hydrolase. So this is pre-substance hydrolase, and that is a compound element, and it is formed in the hydroacoustic body, which is it's a part of the anatomy that's connected to the hydroacoustic with an A body, but they haven't even showed us where exactly that is yet, the acoustic part. but it's part of the stages that go through this. I have a feeling it's a part of us that's connected to the Adore side, or vice versa when we talk about the Ettore and the Adore side. So anyway, as far as the acoustic body, that just came out with explaining the difference as far as hydrolase up here and hydrolase there. They come from different parts of the body structures, manufacture the protoplasms. From there, they go into the two pre-matter substance types that are formed in the physical atomic body again. So these also form the physical atomic body, which are the vapors. So you're watching a flow. It's like goes into the physical atomic body, then it comes back out, goes somewhere else into the hydroacoustic body, then it comes back into the physical body as it's stepping up into the manufacture of matter as we know it. The next is the metallic electroplasms. These are actually the metals. They form like metals. There are 6 pre-matter metallic substance types formed in the Rasha dark matter body. Next we have the hydroplasma. That is 6 core atomic matter substance types formed in the core light body Eton. Then we have thermoplasma, and we went from plasms. These are plasms, and there are actually like thermoplasm, hydroplasm with an M without the A on the end. These are different. These are the plasmas. They have A's on the end, so it is a different state, right? Coming up toward manufacture of the atoms we know. Then we have 5 inner atomic matter substance types formed in the inner light body, the Adon. 3 middle atomic matter celestalon substance types from the middle light body, Eden. And they are the ectoplasm. So when we talk about celestalon, out of which comes celestaline and celestalite. Celestaline would have the negative charge, celestalite would have the positive charge. And celestaline is connected to, what do they call it, ectos, that has to do with the white powder gold stuff that when you go, when you're doing natural hydrolase conversion in your body, you end up with this, it's like a pale powdery substance on the skin. And then hydros is released. That would be running on the celestaline. Yeah, so the celestaline goes with the hydros, and the celestalite goes with the ectos when hydrolase splits and does its thing in what's called solar symbiosis, which is the natural breathing form through the bodies of how the prana currents go out, and then the prana currents go into the Illyrian lines in the spirit body, then the mana currents come out in the light body, and then the Illyrian chambers split and create what are called refracted code particles that bring the prana in pieces back down into the fire chambers in the light body, and that's where they spark and set the pentagonal flows into making Jaleesic units that become atom clouds in the light body, and then they step down to the next level. If it's made on the density level, it'll step down and make the atoms that come in D3. The D3 transduction, it's called, will form the atoms in D2, and D2 will form the ones in D1. So it's a whole integrated process, and through that process, we have this process happens all the time. Every time we breathe, there's at least supposed to be one cycle of a burst of Eta-Ur comes in to duct 1, and the whole process gets set in motion. And our bodies aren't working that way at the moment, and what we're working toward is getting them where they can, again, do this natural type of breatharian eternal life existence. Next one, please. And I'll probably talk really fast for a bit. I hope I'm not talking too fast to be understood. Yeah, this is just to remind us again of where these lines are the fire chambers, and these are the Illyrian chambers. The Illyrian chambers are the ones that actually manufacture the base encryptions of energy for what become the elements out in the fire chambers. And this is showing it in proportion with, you have your D1 sphere, right, and your D2 sphere, D3 sphere, and your density level sphere. And each levels of those spheres has their own IM band, and that's where your consciousness is. On density level, you have the IM God Self. On the, D3 level, you have the IM Ego Self. On the D2 level, this is the one we're going to move through in the exercises to techniques tomorrow, we're going to actually pull our consciousness from the D3 band into the D2 band so we can begin to remember ourselves, the part of ourselves that are our atoms and our physical body, so we can get into the I am body consciousness space. Down here you have the I am element, which is the subatomic particle cognition and that kind of thing. And we're going to open the flows between all of those systems in the techniques that are running in this workshop. And in the next workshop, slide 3, there's one piece of the puzzle left, and that will be the Rasha body level, where you open up the Rasha flows into this whole thing. When we open up, what will be opened through this process during this workshop will allow for atomic bilocation, where you can actually pull portions of the Jari can go out with you and go traveling. So when you go, on journeys and that stuff, you will actually be taking some of the D2 atomic structure with you, not just the D3 mental body structure. And once the Rasha flows and whatever else they're connected to, because that's material for the next workshop, they have no idea what it is, except it has to do with the final piece of that. It will open the Rashas, and that will allow the body to be able to open the flows for not just bilocation, but translocation, where the entire atomic structure on the density 1 level could do a slide, and go through through a gate to median Earth, or that would be the first stop anyway. So there's going to be a lot accomplished in this. They didn't just do, we'll do the D2 one now, and then the next workshop the D1 one, and the next workshop the one up here. No, we did one, the D3 level, last workshop. We'll be opening these, and these in this workshop. So that's pretty intense. And it's all technique. That's why it's like all getting the things activated in the system. That's why they put such an emphasis on technique this time. Next one, please. This is showing you the messy graph that shows if you see these little stars, these are actually what are called altogether, they're called the Pythagorean circulatory system. Individually, when you take just one set of 12, because each one of these would have a star, there'd be a star on every line, all right? And that star is actually a flow pattern of energy that occurs as the outflows of prana are going, and how certain parts of those flows come in and actually bump into the chambers next to them, and it creates these angles that actually form what looks sort of like a pentagram, except it isn't a pentagram. A pentagram is squashed down, its proportions are different, and its top is cut off. It doesn't go into the layer above, which means it creates closed circulation. It's the pentagram that actually creates it's the actual flow pattern of the messed up atomic structure, the Metatronic atomic structure. So these aren't pentagrams. They're pentagonals. They refer to them as pentagonals. And the flows themselves, for one set of dimensional flows, not the whole system, but one set of dimensional flows, they refer to them as the pentagal circulation. So this, when you have the technique that talks about it will activate the pentagal circulation of this or that, they're talking about these circulations. We'll look at them a little bit closer so you see what they do. They're not just stars that hang there. They're actually flow patterns of where prana goes and interfaces with the iridanos energies to begin the creation of literal sparks that become clouds of sparks that start sticking together to become literally the atoms for each of the dimensional levels. So these are the pentagal circulations. And around those circulations are the windows. So this is the D3 window, the Tiwa window that we opened in slide 1. Where this one here is called the Grual window, the D2 Grual window. And part of it's in D3, part of it's in D2. Just like the D3 one is part of it's in D3, part of it's up in the density field. Right? Down here we've got the D1 one that's called the Jandas window. And this one, the large one, which is the one that spans your density 1, your density 1 Ajay body going up into the density 2 level of the D. It would be the D1 level of density 2, which equals D4. All right, so that is the astral field. So it's an etheric energy field. So this one, the Jada window, will open into the astral field. Once you get all of those open, you have genuine, what is supposed to be real astral body travel, not get part of your consciousness out and get it stuck in one of the hibernation zones or one of the reverse flow spaces. Because when people are doing remote viewing and they're learning how to get themselves out of body and stuff, they don't have the natural transfiguration circulations turned on, so they're actually going out on the pentagram pattern, even if they don't play with pentagrams. It'll get you out of body playing with pentagrams, but it'll also get you completely out of body into one of the systems that are controlled by the dark hole zones. And you're better off not getting out of body when you go out that way. So Some of us have been trained with little bits of these, where we would have hosted temporary window openings to get like pulled out of our bodies by the beloveds to be trained to something and then sent back in. But that wasn't something that our bodies could do by themselves. They had to assist us from the higher levels to make those openings happen, and the body couldn't hold them or sustain them for very long, so we couldn't have conscious control, full conscious control over doing it. We'll progressively get the conscious control of being able to go out of body the right way, where you actually aren't throwing yourself inadvertently into black hole territory or in hibernation zone type territory or reversal. And every time people get pulled out on that, a lot of people that have like the Zeta experiences and all of that, when they're dealing with the Zetas, they're pulling them out on the pentagram code. And every time that happens, it increases that type of matter base in the body. So it accelerates the death of the body by doing that type of projection. That's why we haven't taught that type of astral projection ever, even though we know how it works. We're not about to teach it. All of this had to be fixed before you can do it the right way, where it won't harm you, it'll actually help you. And this workshop is the first one where we will actually be able to open up these flows so we can begin real, full-on body projections, not just, I call them the peel out, because you can sometimes hear a peeling between the atoms, what ones are going to go out in the projection and what ones are staying. It's a very strange feeling. It's kind of like, and it's like, ew. Just like, oh, that's weird, right? But I felt that a couple of times, the peel out, I like to call it. So we'll be moving toward being able to do the peel out. They're not going to teach us how to do the peel out this time, I don't think. But I don't know what the journey to the Kivas is going to look like either, because we're taking part of the D2 body this time, not just mainly the D3 field. So it's going to be interesting. So these are the structures we're dealing with. I'm sorry the diagrams are messy, but at least they're there to point so I can show you relationships. And if you see, if this is the D2 level, your D2 body, your physical body, would be in here. So part of these flows are literally inside of the body, part of them are around the body, and part of, this was funny too, because you could put big stars in each of these as like the whole level flow. When we look at this, we're actually looking at where your body would be. This is in relation to the huge size of your own spirit body structure and Ajna body structure. We have other incarnations and all of that, like simultaneous incarnations. Each one of these would be a vector that you're on, or a smaller like time vector or time continua. So you would say be here. Your little body would be in there, your physical body. And then you would have other selves. Some of these are probable selves. Some of them, when it gets even bigger into the bigger structures of the Ajay spirit body. I mean the Lumaradana spirit body, which is huge. So there's like patterns of this from the small ones all the way up to the big ones. Right here in this diagram was actually showing the bigger ones of the entire flow of yourself as a whole density 1 entity, basically identity entity, but in density 1. You'd also have density 2, density 3, density 4, and density 5 level of this stuff. But all of your incarnations would be running around in one of these little pentagonal circulations would be one of your body selves. So it's when we say that right now we're dealing with a window that is up here at the D3 level, what we're going to open tonight, at the end of tonight, is one that actually comes down right around your body. So it's literally like you're in it, like you're in the window. And then it becomes a three-dimensional window, where it's still pentagonal shaped, right? But it's not just flat, right? It's actually like a, what do they call those? Pentagons, right? A pentagon, a natural pentagon-shaped crystal structure that opens, or in your whole field, inside of your Christ star vehicle. And it's part of the activation, the internal activations of the Christ star. Okay. A person standing inside of it, they place this one. This is the one that they said was the 48 inches above the head. The tip of that would be 48 inches above the head. So it would be like, 4 feet above your head. It goes, I believe it goes all the way down. I haven't finished those diagrams yet. I'm still working on them. But, in fact, I'll have one for tomorrow, which will show more precisely where your body fits in to this. But it comes down around you. I'm just not sure. I think it stops somewhere up around in here when it's a window, but then somewhere up around in here. But once it opens, once the whole flows are open, they become doors, and it actually opens the bottom, so all of them, all the way down into median Earth core. So they're like doorways with pentagonal star-shaped tops on them. So, but we start with opening the windows. And there's a point in, I don't think it's in tonight's technique, but it might be. I can't remember. There's so many words and numbers and techniques. But in one of them, first I think you open the window, and that's what happens tonight. When we get to the point where we're opening the door of this, we not only are just opening the D2 Grual door, what we're doing is creating the Grual but Grail window, which actually combines that it pulls this window down and merges it, right? Pulls the D3 one down and merges it with the D2 one, and that makes the two of them go huge and get really big to where the top point of the pentagonal will be 144 inches or 12 feet above your head, and that's where it plugs in to this level. It opens up into here, and then there's another doorway in here somewhere that I still have to get the diagrams done. That is called I believe the Jada door, and that is the one that opens into the astral field. So it literally opens the entire line, going all the way through the body, through the physical atomic structure as well. So I will try to have the diagrams, at least that one, I'm still working on it, of getting the body proportions inside of the structure. But even if I didn't have that, it's enough to understand that if you're one of these little stars in this huge part of your own spirit body anatomy, you have your own little version of these too. You would have a little circle, right, that would be your little bubble capsule that would have all this configuration with your little flows in it. Your probable selves and that kind of thing would be in that, and you'd be the big whole one. And ourselves here, our incarnational selves are part of a much larger structure of our collective incarnational identity in density 1. So it's kind of like that, where we have the larger and then the smaller. Our probable selves would be inside of ours. If this was all of us, these little guys would represent our probable selves, different like probable versions of our own body, this particular body. So we'll try to get the one diagram that I've been working on for 3 days, intermittently with getting techniques to the point where I'm cross-eyed, but I've been getting them down, the techniques, and I got this one that's starting to show the up close of this a little bit better where the body is, so you can get an idea of where your physical body structure fits in with it, proportionally. Next one, please. Heat's coming. Ooh. Take my hood off. Heat's coming. Ready. Oh. Okay. This one, it's the same structure, but it's not showing the little stars down here yet. It's just showing one of them that run on the Allurian chambers. I don't know if you noticed. I'll show you. I think it's in the next diagram. I'll show it more clearly. But the big stars, the ones that go with the density level that are part of the Jada level of the density 1 body, they are actually centered on the Allurian chamber lines. So it's on the Allurian chamber lines in the density level of the body that the density or the catheric matter units are formed. So that's where those circulations, the pentagel circulations, take place. And these feed the ones that happen here. Because on the D3 one, you'll have a star here. They run on the fire chambers of the light body. So these are running in the spirit body. All right, they're running on the Allurian chambers, which run the spirit body anatomy, and these are running the light body anatomy on the fire chambers. And these actually begin the process of feeding those. And then there are little circulations here that the D3 circulations here will feed the D2 one, the D2 will feed the D1, etc. So there's a whole circulation that happens. The Rasha does something here too, I'm sure, with the big one, and interfaces with all of them. That they haven't talked about that yet. When you look at one of these pentagel circulations, what it has to do with is there would be a pulse of prana that goes outward from your body. First, it comes through your body. As far as when we talk about the translation sequence that starts with duct 1, which is in the thymus, that's sort of the base of the thymus where the Azra is. There is a pulse of consciousness that comes out from the Rasha body, from the dark matter body, and it sends a pulse of consciousness into the translation sequence where it goes through the plasm stages up the duct system till it makes hydrolase. Through the hydrolase conversion in the body process, the hydrolase rises to the skin, and part of it goes off as hydros, carrying what are called the jewels, and part of it goes off as ectos, which carries the mana. So there are flows of energy that are coming literally out of the body, and when they come out of the body, the part of the flows that are the hydros that appear to evaporate into the air, they actually go into the Illyrian chambers. So they do disappear from here, and they go into disappear from the light body and matter body structure, and they go right into the spirit body Illyrian chambers, all at the same time, not one at a time. So all the chambers breathe at once, right? So you've got the hydros flows will come out in Illyrian chamber, and this happens at all of them simultaneously. When it gets to the outside of the Ajay body, it bounces and splits, right? So you have prana, the prana jewels are being carried on the hydros streams that get released through the Illyrian chambers. They hit the outer parameters of the body, of the hydroacoustic body, and split, creating what are called refracted code particles. And one line will split into two ways. It'll make a prana chi on is that clockwise or counterclockwise? Let me see, wait a minute. That's counterclockwise. It'll make prana chi, the negative charge one, on a counterclockwise spin, and that will come down this fire chamber, and it will make prana ki on a clockwise spin, coming down this one. And every one of these does it at the same time. So the fire chambers are being fed by two different Illyrian chamber lines, right? And that happens all the way through the system. When one flow from an Illyrian chamber comes through, like from this one, it starts out and it goes into these larger pentagal circulations. It splits the prana chi and the prana ki, and then it actually, I just showed these which fire chambers they're going in. It actually splits and comes down. It actually forms those petal shape formations that you see in the flows of the Lumeridana spirit body and stuff. But I just showed it going straight over, so you got to, it was easier to see that the prana, which is one coming out the Illyrian chamber, splits into two prana chi and prana ki, one with a positive, one with a negative charge, and they have a bit of different quantum. One is the chi carries 1/3 of the prana jewel, and the ki with a positive charge carries 2/3 of the prana jewel, and then it comes down these Illyrian chambers. But part of it, when it splits, it sparks here, and it opens some of the flows. And there's the core flows that if you put the Navajo flow patterns over this that are part of the Lumeridana structure, the ones that look like a figure eight, it pulls in some of those flows from here, where we start getting the ethos and the eros energies. They form the first sets of these pentagonal flows. It actually goes all the way out to there, and sparks there, sends it back, splits those over here. But you start to get the eros and ethos flows coming in through here, and they split up here. It's the one line comes down the center, one comes this way and goes like this, while the other one comes this way and goes like this. The parts where those lines cross through each other, where little radiation units are crossing through each other, they actually spark, and they make the sparks that then collect in the center in a cloud that form atoms. And they already have within them an intelligence that is set by whatever encryption is being held out here in the hydroacoustic body. That's where the plates are made, where you send your desire out, and it gets a little pentagonal-shaped plate around it. On the ends of the Illyrian chambers, it will pick up the orons, where I don't have them all drawn on, but each one of these would have an oron at the end of it. So these are the parts of the anatomy that you've already had a bit of exposure to with the last technique. But literally, it's through this natural pentagal flow that atoms, the stuff of atoms, are created, and the stuff are Jaleesic radiation sparks that then congeal in a cloud, and they form the literal atoms. And what directs how they form, which ones will become hydrogen, which ones will become helium, which ones will become whatever, that is directed. It has to do with, first of all, which lines they're on, because each one of these Illyrian chamber lines corresponds with one of the 12 primary families, where you had hydrogen, helium, lithium, etc., going all the way up to 12. So Illyrian chamber line 1 would be that was the family line of hydrogen. And when we looked on those other charts that showed you had the lines going across the bottom, where you had hydrogen, helium, etc., going this way, and then there was a family of them going up that belonged to that family, that was actually the ones that were manufactured on the line. So this plugs right in to the natural Illyrian atomic chart, where there are 144 naturally occurring atoms that are supposed to exist. So that whole imprint of how atoms are formed, how they, how these little sparks that are quark packages, they're like little quark packages, how they come together to form the atoms, and what type of atoms they will form, is governed by the base encryptions that are held in these structures of the Auger body, the spirit body. And it is literally, they call this thing the mix master, this whole structure, because there you have this happening on not only every one on the density level, it's on every one of the Illyrian chambers, right? But then when you get into the dimensional levels, you have it happening on every one of the fire chambers on that level, on the light body levels. So you've got all of these different sets of 12 pentagal circulations. Altogether, they're considered the Pythagorean circulatory system, and it is the circulatory system by which the manifestation energies go into materialization. It is the materialization circulation system. And what gets really interesting is you can tell some fascinating stuff by this. This is actually what gives you the tool to understand atomic step down. When you can take one level and label, okay, that's, let's just say, I think this is 12, this is Illyrian chamber 12, and the offsets have to do with, we have fire chamber 12 up, because that is what's up over your head. That's why we position the diagrams this way. And fire chamber 12 of the light body comes in between, I believe, 11 and 10, between 10 and 11 Illyrian chamber? No, wait a minute. Anyway, I'll describe that in a different diagram. This isn't the one to show that because they get convoluted with all the lines on it. Anyway, it's positioned with the top up, with what would be our top up. And it comes in at the 11.5 level, where our chamber 12 would be aligned with Illyrian chamber, if there was one, 11.5. So it's between, 11 and 12, right? So that's why it's aligned this way. What's interesting about this, you could then put, okay, fire chamber 1 is the hydrogen, fire chamber 2 is the helium, etc. Or not fire chamber, sorry, the Illyrian chamber 1 is helium, 2 is hydrogen. That's where the base imprint for those elements comes from. And the whole family, because there are 12 sub-frequency bands in each in each dimensional level, also in each of the density level, which means you'll have one primary element, and there will be 11 others, part of that family, one for each of the sub-frequency bands, and that would be the dominant element of that line. But it gets even more interesting, because not only, if they were just all lined up perfectly straight, where you have your density level and then you have your D3 level, and if this was Illyrian chamber like 12, that means this is Illyrian chamber 12 and this one is 2. No, it doesn't go that way. They line up, but not number to number. It's a mix master, where because of the different angular rotation of particle spin and the angles at which the spheres sit in relation to each other. Remember, a long time ago they taught us there is a 90 degree shift in angular rotation of particle spin between one dimension and the next. So you have to shift them. So I had to build this out to, into a different diagram to find out where was what, so you could see what's called the step-down charts, which actually say, okay, if it's hydrogen in D3, what is it in the density level? What is it in D2? What is it in D1? Because they are different things. So if it's hydrogen here, it steps up to be a different thing. It steps down to be a different thing, which gets quite interesting, right? So this was the beginning of understanding those charts, and these are the flows. And what this one shows is where it comes out, hits the Orion, splits, and starts to bounce off the chambers, the fire chambers. Instead of going past them, it doesn't go through them. The fire chambers block it and send it up at another angle. Hits another fire chamber, gets sent over this way. Meanwhile, this one had come down at the same time, got bounced back upward, so they cross through each other. It's the points where they cross through each other, hit and spark, that quarks are made, and those quarks are already imbued with the intelligence of how to combine in what ways to form very specific elements, which also gives the imprint for very specific types of natural elemental bonding, what elements or atoms would be able to bond to others to form compounds and substances. That would be the normal way it works here. There's a perversion in the system that perverts part of that process. So, next one, please. This shows it a little bit more clearly without all the other gobbledygook all over the place, just showing the relationships between, you would have your little D1 pentagal flow circulations, your D2 pentagal circulations, your D3 pentagal circulations, and then over on the Illyrian chambers, these were all running the fire chamber, right? Then you would have the ones that feed them, which are the big ones that go with the density level or the jadas level, the jada level. So they're just showing it a little bit more clearly. And what's interesting is when a burst of prana comes out, hits the aura on there, and then splits and comes down in here, you have this happening all around. So every fire chamber is getting fed by two different Illyrian chamber lines. When you trace all this up, you can actually find the parents, the two parents, which would be which two stars up here created the flow set that came down in one of the chambers. And this has to do with the step-down charts as well. So I just wanted to show you this one. There's a lot more things that we're still learning about these bodies, but each one of these would have a pentagon-shaped window around it, right? And that pentagon-shaped window is the window that opens when those flows turn on properly. And our windows have been actually squashed down, where instead of the tips reaching up into the next level, right, D3 reaching up into the density level, D2 reaching up into D3, they have been squashed down into the pentagram shape type flow, which locks in. Yeah, you get three-dimensional, but they don't talk to each other. There's hardly any flow movements, and the atoms that are created through these are artificial atoms. They're not ones that they have. The only spirit body they have is the part that they've taken as the energy comes through your body, or it was the earth body that started the earth level of the mutation, where when the natural translation sequence from inside the body would happen, it got blocked inside the body, and it only had X amount of energy. We have something called a Xeon and an Ajari, which are original quantums put in the fetal integration process, original quantums of energy that will not be depleted if this whole circulation system works properly, because the system continually sparks more of itself, and it replenishes the quantum that we originally started with. Same thing with the planet. When those flows were blocked in the planet, and thus in our bodies, or the biology of everything on the planet, it literally made it so the only fuel to create matter out of became whatever part of the Jari and the Xeon energies that were already in the body and got trapped in the fetal integration process. So literally the bodies feed off us. Yeah, like we're in, and their bodies are made of us. The bodies didn't do this to us on purpose. This was done on an environmental level that created a mutation in the bodies that it turned half of our body's energy against it, and we can't replicate the energy anymore. So eventually our Xeon burns out, our mana seed burns out, and we have nothing more to circulate. And that's when we go into mana depletion that the body dies, because it stops the spin of the seed atom. First it makes it spin really, really fast to expend the rest of its energy, and then it collapses. And that's when the body dies, because it can't regenerate its own quantum anymore. Same thing with Earth. That is what is occurring with our sun at this point. It will take a longer time for the sun's body to die, but it is going into that phase. It is going to go into red giant, and it is going to do that. We're not going to be here by the time we see that, by the time it's happening, which is good, because we won't be seeing it. We'd be fried when that starts to happen. But in our own bodies, we die because of the same process. When these circulations get closed and cut off, and these, instead of their tips, they don't look like pentagrams. Pentagrams have shorter tips proportionally, and it brings their arms down further, right? Because they're only using this space in here. It also changes the literal proportions of our physical bodies. There are larger flows that literally run in the big windows around us, and it squashes those down. We're much shorter than we should be, and technically we should be about 12 feet tall. And yeah. It limits the amount of energy that is here, and it splits it into two currents to try to make a false version of the spirit body current by putting part of the mana current on reverse. And that creates the mess that we have right now. And that's what they're teaching in the Metatronic schools, the Tothian schools, and all of that. They teach, spin your Merkaba this way and this kind of stuff. Yeah. Why? To activate this stuff on the Metatronic code. So there's a lot of deception that's happening in the New Age movement, and it's not, the people who are doing it, they actually don't know. They don't know the difference. Nobody ever taught them the difference. That's why we fought so hard to bring it to where we could understand the difference, because the other way is killing us, and it's killing the planet. It's too late to fix the whole planet, but we still have the ability to bring these flows back on, and that's what we're going to do in the D2 bodies with this workshop. Next one, please. If I keep talking this long, we're going to be here till 6 in the morning. Now, in the normal situation, when remember that flat diagram you're seeing, they're actually spheres within spheres, right? So you've got these pentagal flows running in the sphere within each of the dimensional levels of the spheres. Now, they talk to something. These are from when we were doing the diagrams for the K23 manual, and we talked about the teleospheres. There is an interaction with when we, for example, when we sent our desire intention out to the orons actually feed back through those flows with the little atoms. They actually feed back the encryption into the teleospheres that set the memory matrix. So it literally creates a sphere, a memory matrix sphere around us of how to bend the energies and how to manifest. It actually sets the grid as to how not only the atoms are already formed, but how they will bond together and what types of substances they will form and what type of structures they will form. So when you're able to seed your teleospheres directly, you can put pictures in there that come out in atoms, right, eventually. That's how it's supposed to work. Right now our teleospheres are a mess because of the mutation, and it literally distorts when the structures of the atoms are made, because the original ones are all right, our outer density level flows, the pentagal flows, they're actually functioning normally, except they're not being fed anymore, so they've gone dormant, they've stopped, just because there's nothing, it's supposed to be a circulation. Energy comes into them, they flow, energy goes back, the energy goes back, and that makes more energy get sent out. Those flows have shut down, so our density body isn't breathing, but it's not distorted. What's distorted are the three-dimensional light body structures inside of it. And that creates the pentagram-shaped cut-off versions of the Pythagorean flows that literally hold a mutation in each level of the body and distort and hijack part of the body energy. The part of the body energy that gets hijacked, the spirit body, the part of our spirit that gets hijacked, from being a jari, which is a normal flow, becomes the jarosh, and it draws to it from the environment that the environment itself already has these distorted types of atoms. It draws more of them into the body. It densifies the matter in a way it was never meant to be densified, and it basically progressively kills the body every time we breathe. We take one breath closer to death through the way the systems are working right now. It also, the mutation also hijacks the mana flow, because it uses that twisted, turned around reverse polarity jari that becomes the jarosh. It uses that to drag the natural mana flows into reverse polarity and to literally feed off our own mana seed. On a planetary level, that's what was happening in the core of the planet. On the solar level, that is what's happening, and to the point where it's shutting down at this point. The core prana seed of the sun, back, I think it was, what was it, March 25th of 2007, it shut, and that's when we were put on notice that there's 220 years left for the loadout, because it's going to be an evacuation situation eventually on this planet, and it'll be much more obvious later than it will be now. So the teleospheres have to do with organizing the atoms that are formed from the pentagal flows. The teleospheres actually organize it and store the encryption in infrasound structure. That, like, the infrasound is ultra low frequency sound in little vibrating points. So they store what it is the atoms are supposed to do. Okay, we're atoms now. How should we come together, right? What should we make and what should we build? That information gets stored in the teleosphere levels of the light body structure. Next one, please. This, I just wanted to show you because thankfully it has evolved since the last workshop. And this is why there was one chart from the last workshop pack that we had to correct just the top and the bottom line. We had the translations for the D2 and the D3 all right, but because it was so hard to see what was on first with this was the beginnings of understanding the Mixmaster. All right, which was, remember we said how the D1, D2, D3, and density levels are each on a different axis, which means their top, right, would be at a different axis to each other. So you can't just have, you have your 12 flows, and number one is, a Lurian chamber or whatever, a fire chamber would be hydrogen. Then you'd have number two is helium. Yeah, that sequence goes all the way around, but you don't have number ones and number twos lining up with each other. And this is where you get the step down. I'll show you the clear version. But it was meant to show, this is the diagram I used last time because it was as fast as I could get it scribbled down anywhere. But you have your three levels, it's your D1, D2, D3 levels of the Lurian chamber lines coming through, and each one of those has its orientation. 8 would be oxygen, for example, right? It goes with the proton number. And then they'd have their families of subharmonic elements that would go with it. But here we start to see, okay, what lines up with what? Well, what lines up with what? First of all, if it's the outer one, the large one, density level, they line up with D3. So they are the same, thankfully. At least we have one set of them that, yes, if it's an 8 there, it's an 8 there too. But when we get down into D3 and D2 and D1, they're all different because not only the biggest reason is because D2 is at a 90-degree angular shift to D1 and D3. There's 90-degree shift of angular rotation of particle spin between each. So you have to have the D1 with its top, or like say chamber number 12 in one position. Then you have to know if it turns clockwise or counterclockwise to know which way to shift it to know which way the numbers are supposed to go. This was a bit complex to put together, and it's worth putting it together because you get the step-down charts from it. You can put the next one on and you can look at it a little bit more civilized means. That's a little more civilized to being able to see what lines up with what. And this is like, one of my life or death charts. I can't live without it at this point because all sorts of other things that I'm going to need to understand. I will have to refer back to this and go trace what goes where. So if we have up here Illyrian chamber 11 and Illyrian chamber 12, right? This means we have what would be the fire chamber, the dimensional light body fire chamber 12 would be in between them at what would be 11.5. We need to know which way what spins in order to number it. So before we even get these on. So let me see. How do I explain this now? How do I have numbers? 11, 10, 12, 1. All right. So if this is Illyrian chamber 1, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I believe I have this right. 11, 12. I think that's a counterclockwise spin. I thought these were on clockwise, actually. Anyway, see, I'm just finishing these, so I'm still going. Did I do that right? Right? I do believe I have this part of it right, because there was a reason why I thought it went the other way before, but this one actually spins this way. The spins of D2, I'll start with that because I know that one and I'm certain with those. Now, because we are using spins at this point, not just of our personal level, whether we're a male or female body, because when you get into the tinier levels of the flows, one would be one way. One would have a positive spin monad at the center of the seed atom. One would have the negative spin or a counterclockwise spin. With these go deeper into the core anatomy program that will correspond with the planets. So you have to take the spins it's like an androgyne spin that goes with the planet itself. And our planet has, it normally has a female monad, which means the little thing in its Rasha seed would spin counterclockwise. That means that its D1 spins clockwise, its D2 spins counterclockwise, its D3 spins clockwise. I think these are supposed to spin together, though. I have to figure, I just have to double check this chart, but you get the idea anyway. So it would mean that, for example, if you had let me go for one over here. If you had Illyrian chamber number 1, and that is the hydrogen family in the density level, this does align with the D3 level on the atomic level. So here's catheric hydrogen family, right? This would bring you down into atomic hydrogen family. It's still 1. But by the time you get down here into 3, it changes. Let me see. What do I have them on? D2 ends up A7. That actually ends up as A1 on D. Yeah, D3 is A7. I have to check this again, but wait, this is 1. Yeah, 7. All right. We have 7 on 1. This one I think actually does, just because the spins end up where they do, does end up corresponding, but they don't all correspond, or you have A1, A1, A1. But once in a while, you get one of those that does, and I think I picked the one that did. There might be another one or two. Let me find one that shows more clearly the difference in them. All right, so if we have D1 here, we have fire chamber number 9. Go out to D2. Now, number 9 would be whatever the 9th element is. What is the 9th element? Let me find a 9 where I have a word. Fluorine, right? So if that's fluorine in D1 etheric matter, when you bring it up to D2, it's 6. Fire chamber 6, that's carbon, right? The carbon family. If you bring it up to atomic level, D3, that would be lithium. And I think these run the same way. I have to double check my names on these, but you get the idea. That's why it's called the mix master, because it's actually taking the various elements from each level, where you have a prana flow comes up, splits, comes down here, comes down there. Then there's another one coming from this one at the same time. These are the spark points. They spark in here. And then that sends flows down into the Illyrian chambers here. So it's like this fire chamber sends flows down into the Illyrian chambers here. I'm sure there's zigzag flows. I've seen them already, but they haven't even showed me how to do it yet, where if it comes up this one, comes down there, another one's coming down, two of them come down here, one goes down this way, but two come this way, and then they bounce back up. There's a whole set of currents that happen within these flows. But it is literally how the atomic chart is formed, how the atoms in the atomic chart are formed, how quarks come together to form elemental atomic substance. And the programs that govern how they will bond have to do with these natural structures. And if the natural structures are blocked, you will get mutated atoms. And we are made of mutated atoms because our planet's atoms have been mutated. That doesn't mean we are stuck forever, but it could mean we were stuck forever. Those who designed this nasty little program, that was their intention. But they're kind of getting stuck in their own matrix as well with it. So we're still offering, when we offer the thing that we're going to do tomorrow in the morning, where we get the practice going. I don't think we're going to have time to practice the songs tonight. I think we have the handouts, right? Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow, but we'll give you the paper. We'll give them the paper tonight, though, right, to take home? It's already happened? You got them? Good, okay. Just double checking. I wasn't here for that part. So, anyway. Next one, please. What this will give you is an interesting way to analyze relationships between them. The step-down pattern. So it steps down from density to this, it's there. It steps down to what here, what here. You can put these all out on a chart that's not circular, so you can, like analyze them and see them more easily. Next one, please.
There is a coffee break sort of arrangement in the other room, the dinner room, later. Anytime anybody wants to.
Is there now?
So you can pick it when you want.
Okay. As long as we can make it not a half hour or anything. We'll be here forever.
But whenever you feel.
Okay, not yet. Okay. Yeah, it won't get cold that fast, right? Okay. He's letting me know that they have the coffee break set up out there. That's like how they were scheduled. But I'm going to keep going for a little bit. It'll hold for a little while. And I'm not going to take a half hour one, just 15, tops to do that and then get back to what we're doing. This was the first roughs of, and they're not necessarily right because this was based on the one where I couldn't quite read what the outer ones were, and I still want to double check my own one, my new one that I did that is actually proportional and everything, just to make sure I've got my lines, my numbers put in right and at the right spins. So what it'll give you is you can make a chart that says D1, D2, D3, right, and density level. Let's say you're on fire chamber, Illyrian chamber 1 or fire chamber 1. You'd have, it's 5 here on D1, it's 1 here, which is hydrogen, on D2, and it's 8 there, which is oxygen, on D3, right? So it gives you this step up and step down chart so you can know what is what is what. I know these were not correct, I was just getting them at the time, but these are where you take those big flows from the density level that combine. They would be the parents that combine the first flow of that family, the base family, which is here, these would combine to form the 8 family, which is oxygen family, and then that all steps down, and that forms the D1, the D2 hydrogen family. And we're talking about families because each one of these have the 12 subfrequency bands. So it starts with hydrogen, say, one does, but then it'll go all the way up that chamber, and that's where we get the other chart. Let me see what next one is, please, honey. I don't know if I have that one here next. I can't see that. Just put it up there so I can see it. Yeah, thank you. This was showing it a little more clearly, but also making it a little more complex because not only, do you notice here, the breakout, you've got AX, 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 referring to axiotonal lines, right, which are the ones that correspond with the Illyrian chambers, right? And in between them, you have M lines, meridian lines, fire chamber lines, right? So I'm just starting this chart. It's not finished. But these, I believe, are correct as far as the numbers. You got your D1 hydrogen is oxygen on D2. It's oxygen also, I believe. No, there's something wrong with my numbers here. I'm still learning these, okay? But I'm still trying to get my numbers right. But I think it can at least show you the basics of how the system works. There's also tones that go with each one of these that we'll be eventually learning how, once we get these charts straightened out and know exactly what the whole step down set is, we will be able to know the tones too, and what tones you use here to get what tones up there, to begin literally calling through song and sound the atoms together to assist in manifesting things or materializing things that we would like to manifest, materialize. So those are just the beginnings. Each one of these would represent one of those 12 Illyrian chambers. So it would have a main family line. It would be a main family line on each level. It would have a main family line, and they would be different on each of the levels. All right, and going all the way across, and in between them you would have the fire chambers. And there's a way to lay out the numbers with these, and I have to double check this, but where you can see directly not only what the Illyrian chamber step up and step down system is, but also with the fire lines or the meridian lines that go with the fire chambers. The reason they're bringing this to us now isn't so much that we have to analyze all what's this with this on this level right now. They want us to see where this whole system fits together, and where it fits together comes down to this helps us understand it's not just fire chambers versus Illyrian chambers. We're dealing with our axiotonal lines and our meridian lines, the ones that run directly through our bodies. And one of the things we're going to do tomorrow later is with the hydroacoustic sessions, the aquatone sessions, is we're going to use a technique that begins to reset one by one each of the lines as they're supposed to run, starting with the Illyrian chamber lines, which will reset the fire chamber lines as well. It'll get the right programming back in, what the natural sequence is supposed to be for them, by using the Alaria Rashatan code. Literally, we have these little finger charts that you pick them up on your fingers as energy, and you need to know which toes to put them on. And then there's that extra sixth one that we don't have that we're supposed to have. We're supposed to have six fingers and 6 toes. That's a natural imprint. We're supposed to be 12 feet tall, So we're going to learn how to use that chart to work directly with the axiotonal lines to recode them back to their natural structure. So when we open all of the doorways and the Pythagorean flows, it will also reset the original encryption that is held in our density body but has been dormant because it got turned off because of the mess of the flows on the dimensional levels. Next one, please. This was the atomic chart that we looked at before. Each one of those lines on this one, this is only showing the axiotonal lines, which correspond with the Illyrian chamber lines. All right. So in between each of those, you would also have your the electrical lines. We're considered the electrical or light body lines, which are the meridian lines of the body. So this is just showing the basic 12 families. Each one of them has. This would be the family of hydrogen from the line 1. This would be helium from line 2. So all the numbers, I don't even have all the numbers put in this one yet. I just indicated that they go, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, you get to 12 over there. You start 13, 14, 15, all the way over, 25, all the way over. So it's going literally, you just run the numbers this way, as far as these are the atomic numbers. And that will give you, when you look at them vertically, once you've got all the numbers in, that will give you the whole lineup of what these numbers are supposed to, what family the element numbers are in. So you'll be able to tell, all right, it's hydrogen. Most people know that don't know that whatever element 13 is out of the hydrogen family. There's relationships between all of these, and there's natural bondings between them and certain other ones, and ones that are unnatural. Right now we have unnaturally bonded elements. They form unnatural substances. They're just not organic. They're not Christic. And we have a little bit of the right stuff left. And if we didn't have a little bit of it, we would be locked in completely, and there wouldn't be a choice anymore. But that little bit is not strong enough on its own. That's why the whole host mission is being brought in. That's why they're now allowing us, opening the median Earth core gate, so we can begin to. We need to get our flows turned back on, but you can't do it on Earth, on net Earth, because of the distortion. But through the core flows coming up, through our systems individually, one at a time, and through the host shield, we have access to the support that will allow us to start purging the mutation, clearing this out of our bodies, to get the natural lineups back in our axiotonal lines, to get the natural part of our matter back and to retrieve the part of our own jari that has been taken into reverse to create that artificial jarosh type of mani matter that our physical body, most of it, is made out of right now. That's the stuff that likes to like bloat out and feel really strange, particularly if you have a strong ire current. If you have a strong female energy current, doesn't necessarily mean that you're a female body. But if you have a strong ire current, it gets even worse, and you just kind of find yourself expanding, like the Mississippi River expands on flood time. Just what is with me? Everything's puffing out, nothing fits. I mean, it can be really, really uncomfortable. Then there's the opposite. You get a similar effect where you can get people that are quite electrical, running a lot of mani to begin with, and they actually go in hypermani, where some of them might even no matter how much they eat, they stay stick thin, and that can get to be a real problem, where they can't keep weight on. And both conditions can make you sick, and both of them tend to make you feel lousy in your body, right? If you have the too much mani, you're usually everybody always tense, hyper, or have to go, type hyper A type personalities are extremely amplified mani personalities, and that's your body. It's not just you. You might feel differently if your body wasn't producing all these wacky chemicals that are making you go and go and go and go. And the other is when you get the excessive ire currents being amplified by the mutation, you just kind of get to where you just want to lay down somewhere like a whale and just lay down and say, leave me be. I'll just stay here and go float around with my mind, right? Because it feels so darn uncomfortable dragging it around. My body goes that way. He doesn't get hyper and but yours definitely doesn't go that way. So sometimes it's gender, but there are men and women that show both, show either condition. So it's not just a gender thing where, the girls get plump and the guys get skinny, because it can go the other way too. But all of this is because of the disproportionate relationships of literally quarks that form partially twisted atoms that take part of our own natural structure and create a false form of matter with it that makes other stuff come in from the environment and stick to us. So that's the stuff we are going to clear by the end techniques in the workshop tomorrow. We will be clearing out or beginning the process of teaching, amping our natural part of our jari in our body enough where we will be able to set in motion the natural healing system that will be progressive, where it starts turning back. First of all, the stuff that keeps getting made every time you breathe, it will start, yes, it'll still be made, but it'll interface it and take it and transmute it. But it also has a lot of work to do. Once we get the bodies working where they can start to transmute the jarosh and pull our own jari back out of it and release the parts that don't belong there from the environmental atoms, we have a lot of it still on us now that it's going to take a while for that to clear off, while it's also transmuting the new stuff that gets made every time you breathe. But this is going to set in motion this process. So we are going to be able to reclaim our mana stores, because our twisted jari is actually being used to draw in the mana currents and twist them around to keep the artificial flows running in the body. So it's exciting in that regard, and I'm really looking forward to it, because I'm ready to run away from my body at this point. It just gets so uncomfortable. Everything feels puffed out and swollen inside and stuff like that. So some people aren't at that spot. Hopefully you don't have to go through that spot if you're not. But we will eventually, our bodies aren't supposed to do any of that stuff. They're supposed to be very, very stable and much lighter than they are as far as just the atomic structure. They're supposed to be light and bouncy. One of the techniques that we will do tomorrow will take you into a space where you get to work with your mini-me body in a certain way that's, what do they call it? Air Olympic tryouts. Where you get an idea of how the body is supposed to feel, your own body is supposed to feel. This is how our physical bodies are supposed to act, right? And we are beginning the process of getting them to be able to do that. And I'm really hoping, before I'm crawling around on my knees, just saying, I'm too old, I don't care about walking it through a gate, just let me take it in vapor and get out of here, right? But it's beginning the process of that healing. Next one, please. And so these techniques, it's worth not babbling on forever, and talking about all sorts of things when the techniques are the most important. This is just showing you more of the things. We introduced more of this in the first Sliders workshop. It shows you how you can start to do the D3 to D2 transitions, like the step downs. So, and also some of the things we've worked up. We've heard of ectos, we've heard of mana. Well, what is mana? In D3, mana is tungsten. In D2 is gold, right? This is why we end up with white powder gold. It was called white powder gold because it was actually the ectos part of the part that carries the mana out the fire chambers in the normal breathing thing. And so they're just beginning to show us this. I'd have to double check it to make sure it's all right. But there's a lot of it. We get down here and we see, I think I have them down here, do I? Yes. We have celestylene. Which one is celestylene? Yeah, celestylene D3, celestylene D2. So we finally find out what is that stuff. It is a compound element, right? Up in D3, it's O2, He3, W, which is what? Tungsten, and H2. And that means 2, hydrogen, whatever. Here, when you step it down, the oxygen becomes hydrogen in D2. So you got 2 hydrogen, H2. The helium from D3 becomes nitrogen in D2. So you got 2 helium, 3 nitrogen. The W, tungsten in D3, steps down to gold here. And the hydrogen from D3 steps down to oxygen here. And 2 of them, right? So you got H2N3, AuO2. And that is actually, and it's a transient element, and only forms at a certain point in the cycle and creates a wave that runs through the body that allows the body to actually turn to light if you fully activate it. There's things you do, like you don't just turn to light all the time and like you can see you flash off, but I wanted to go there, but yeah, can't, sorry, you're flashed off somewhere else right now. No, there are things, once the body's working normally, these systems of flow are working normally, you would be able to control the process at will, and you would do certain things or breathe a certain way to make certain things happen that would pop the celestylene wave that would allow for a big hydrolyse conversion to take place that would allow your body to turn to light so you could molecularly disappear with your atoms and pop up where you intended to go. And that is what we're supposed to be able to do. We're quite a ways off from that. We also have celestylite. Now, celestylite was the white powder gold base stuff. H2N3Au, right? 2 hydrogen, 3 nitrogen, and a gold, right? That's why it was referred to as white powder gold. And there was also blue powder gold that was tinted with something else, and I'm not sure what that was yet, but they haven't given me that. These come out of an element called celestylon. That is the compound element that actually celestylite and celestylene come from, and that is the combination of these two. If you put this and that together, that would be your celestylon compound element. So these charts, this Mixmaster step-down set, it has the potential for explaining all sorts of interrelationships of atoms and things. And right now they wanted us just to understand how that works so we could understand that when it comes to, first of all, its connection to our bodies, through not only through the actually tonal lines and the meridian lines, but the fact that these flows with their Pythagorean circulatory system are actually manufacturing atoms. We are manufacturing the atoms, not only the atoms that are making up our bodies, but we are manufacturing the atoms that are making up a part of the hologram that we see, that we walk through. There's other matter involved in that too, obviously, because we all share a hologram field, right? We're all in this room, we all see the same room. Wouldn't it be interesting if all of us were actually manifesting that room right through our fields? And that's really what it comes down to. We are. Right? This room is an encryption. When you go up into the God Self space, it's actually the space that if you left your body completely and could look down on your life, where you'd go for a natural review just to remember and stuff, none of the time stuff or matter stuff looks real in terms of physicality here. It's understood and cognated, but it doesn't look the same. We can learn to go to that space. We're actually beginning the process of doing that. Anyway, they're telling me to hurry up. Okay, sorry. Next one. I won't go on that tangent. Not right now. Yeah. This is the chart that we're changing. All right. It's only these 2 lines that were wrong, but I have to get my Mixmaster lines all right and my spins all right and triple check them to make sure I've got what aligns with what. It was only these I had a problem with, and these. These I know were correct. The relationship between the D2 and the D3 as far as the 90-degree shift and which way what spun. So I have those right. And this just shows you, when we talk about living water hydrolyse, what the hydrolyse is. What is dead water? That's that stuff out there, H2O, right? It doesn't mean you don't love the water. It means the water is missing stuff. It is missing 1 hydrogen and 3 nitrogen. To be living water, which is the type of water you'll see in oceans and on median Earth, this would be what the living water would be in D2. Okay? So it would have the numbers refer to what element number it is. It's proton number, right? So this would be 2 oxygen, number 1, hydrogen, 2 oxygen, 2 hydrogen, and 3 nitrogen would be the natural. They would bond naturally, and they do in median ascension Earth. But here, they don't even bond. The scientists, people that know about science, I asked them, I said, well, does that happen here? And they said, no, it won't. The nitrogen or whatever won't bond in. That substance doesn't exist, right? Yeah, well, we're bringing that substance back into existence, and the only thing that can produce it are our bodies. And the only way they can produce it is through the connection to the median Earth core, where we have the energy support to begin getting our bodies healed so we can begin producing it again. What it is missing, HN3, or 1 hydrogen and 3 nitrogen in D3. That's what is the difference between H2O and living water. So when we work with water, we're actually learning to bring at least the D3 endotheric, D1 levels of that imprint back into the water, to give the water the potentiality to, when we charge the water after we've worked with techniques, we can actually charge that water. We can also ask it to co-create things with us and to assist us, so there's many ways to use it, but we actually offer it the healing opportunity to connect into the frequencies of median Earth. And this is the way we're going to be able to probably float on in some of the portions of the planetary grids here, the solid matter grids, into the median Earth rotation, because we will use parts of the water that can be healed. We won't be able to heal all of the water everywhere on the planet, but we bring once we get it activated in our bodies, we progressively bring those activations to the water to begin the process of helping restore the water to its natural living form. And that allows those little bits of water, those little molecules of water that have picked up that signature, will start to talk. There's a cellular communication, atomic communication. They'll start to talk to the molecules of water that are on median Earth, instead of listening to the dominant voice of the dead ones that are being used for purposes they're kind of like our Jarosh. Didn't mean to get twisted, but it has been. And because it has been, it is open to being used for harmful things as well as for helpful things. Right now, water tends to be poisoning us, and just as we're poisoning it, so it's kind of like a cycle like that we're living in with H2O. But we're learning to heal parts of the water, and then as we offer the healing to it, it will actually bring the healing back into us. We charge water. We did that in the first slide workshop, and in charging it with the Illyria Rashatan code, it puts that coding potential of the natural flows back into it to allow that water that we have offered that code to actually start the communication with median Earth. And then if we drink that water or bathe in that water, that continues to help our system have more of the codes that turns on the natural flows. So we're learning to use water as a healing mechanism, but also understanding it as a living consciousness, where you don't force a will on water. Well, a lot of people do. I'm going to program water, and I'm going to make it different. I'm going to, there's a lot of charged waters out there and that kind of stuff now. But there's a way of asking the water if it would like to do this with you, instead of saying, I'm going to charge you with this intention or that intention. You have to work with it, and we're going to learn when we go into that grail space or the Graal space of learning to communicate in a direct communication type way by entering that space. And that is the space where you actually can start asking things if they would like to co-create with you Christically. And water will always say yes to anything, which is frightening, right? Yeah, right now, because of the mutation, it will say yes to anything. It's extremely intelligent. It will hold, it's actually an intelligent consciousness force. It will hold whatever intention or encryption is put in it. So the water that has a twisted encryption can be very easily used by all sorts of things that it would not normally, if it were in a better, its more clear state of consciousness, would not choose to participate in. Our waters are being held into perversion actually by the moon and the tides. The function of the tides work like a reverse osmosis, which may make it look clean, but it actually reverses spins on the etheric level and the D3 level, which keeps it locked in to the mutation. So the pretty tides, as they ebb and flow in the particular way that this planet is oriented, because of other things we'll see later, it's actually, that is what is keeping the water dead. That is what it's, and certain types of reverse osmosis processing might clean the water out, but it also does the same thing. It just kills it more. So we have to, there's things that you think are good for you, that, well, maybe they're partly good for you, maybe they're really just not good for you at all. When it comes to water, water right now has lost the ability to discriminate about, make clear conscious choices about what is good to be involved in and what is not. Therefore, it becomes very easy to victimize by those who would want to use it for purposes that were harmful to others or to the planet. And that is how it has been used on this planet, with large things constructed like the moon to make sure it worked in a certain way. So we're in the middle of a very large drama. This isn't like little people in the Illuminati running around on planet Earth doing it. No. This is much bigger than just earthly Illuminati levels. That's not even, like, I feel bad for some of them because they were taught to think that they were the highest, or at least almost the highest on the totem pole. They were never taught the scope of this drama. The scope is huge, but the fact is, so are we. All of us started out huge as part of the living cosmos, and at least if some of us can remember that and begin to be part of the original hugeness that we are, we can, at least somebody can wake up enough to help this place as much as it can be helped, as well as getting ourselves unstuck from being in the place. All right, let me see the next one, please, because I think I can do the break point here before I launch into the next bit. I can't see that. Just put it up. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll put that up there, and I will leave it there, and we'll come back to this after, do a 15-minute coffee break, if that's all right. This is just showing the axiotonal lines as they should run in the body. This is what they have not looked like. That's why this looks different than the diagram you see in the Kathara 1 book, because we showed what it was like what it is like at the moment kind of thing, but this is what it's supposed to be. There's still lotus points that I haven't put on here, but there's not the constriction around the ankles, the knees, all sorts of points of constriction that are in the ones that is in the Kathara manual that was showing how our bodies are now. Actually, we've done some work already. We've actually cleared about 3 layers of the twist off and opened up the natural flows of the lines. The big difference is you've got 10 lines running in the one in the book. In the Kathara manual that shows the 10 lines run, because 11 and 12 axiotonal lines were twisted around the center. This has to do with the caduceus that we'll see later. What we are doing now, and we just did it in the last workshop on the D3 level, is we're getting the 11 and 12 axiotonal lines back from being unraveling them from the knot they've been tied in around our central vertical column, to get them back into their natural flow, and it opens all of the others up and resequences them back into their natural order, because they're not in the right order. So they're actually creating in our bodies the jari substance, and the jari then draws to it more of things from the outside that don't belong there. You can call them free radicals. Our bodies work like free radicals right now in the planetary body. So when we get the axiotonals back into order on the D2 level, that's when our D2 level bodies will start to be able to begin producing the first glimmerings of hydrolase in our D2 bodies, not just in our D3 bodies. And it is the next step in the healing and getting back our potentialities of atomic freedom, because our atoms belong to us. They're part of our quantum. We can die and leave a body, and if we're lucky, we will make sure we pull its quantum back out with us, through cremation. If you can't, just kind of like zap it and turn it to vapor like we used to be able to do. Make sure somebody cremates it for you, and then the dust left is the vibody. So at least you got your whole quantum back. But right now we've got part of our quantum highly tied up and bound to atoms and elements from the earth that are twisted, that don't belong there, and we've got to start clearing those out. And we will start doing that on the physical level. As far as, it won't be, oh my God, purge time. We're all going to feel like, like, I don't know if you ever did any of those detoxes that are from the health food stores, but it's like you definitely don't want to leave the house for 3 days because you need to be really close to a bathroom, right? It's like, no, it's not going to be a kill you detox type thing. There will be detox periods. We've already been going through them. All right, for years we've been going through them. The whole shield has here and there little bits. But we will get a level of support on the biological level that we have not had before. So I'm excited about these techniques, and that's why we'll do a 15-minute coffee break-ish, and then come back, and I will barrel through the last bits to get you where you need to be, because it's important, is I want you to be awake enough to do the first of the activations, and it's a 2-part. So, and I think there's 20-some steps each part. What? Okay, you tell them.
Hey guys, would you please be back in the room, sitting down, ready to go at 20 minutes to 12? It's 20 minutes from now.
Alrighty, here we go again. I'm going to do it. Conchal's nudging me to do it. To call it when I see it. Neither what? Really? Cool. Okay. Good. I'm sorry I missed that. Shoot. Once everybody's seated, there was a little special announcement that Council would like me to make addressing a certain situation that's taking place in the group. Yes. We have an uninvited guest of not physical form. We do have what do you call a Metatronic implant posse roaming around. And so it's simple like, hey, okay, the people of Sovereign Fall, they already have Metatronic grids, first of all. They're not going to be able to undo that. The only reason on the Albanian host treaty that came in for them to have a Christfall matrix, they're not people who will be able to go on the ascension path. All right, so there's going to be people from all sorts coming in. Some of them will be very devout to Metatron and those type of teachings. We know, at least anybody that has believed us for the last 10 years that we've been teaching this, we have shown at every stage where the spins are wrong, what they're doing to the bodies, all of that. If people still want to believe in Metatron, that's fine. But what we won't tolerate in this workshop, and I want it to be known for those whoever they may be, there's been attempted implants on various people by the touchy on the shoulder thingy. Keep your hands to yourself if you expect to be in this workshop, because we're not going to put up with it. You are welcome to be here and to learn. But if you cannot be respectful for the people you are learning around, you are invited to leave. Now, whoever you are, you know who you are. If you like to do trance dance with Metatron, you go do that. But you don't implant our people while you're in our workshop. If you want to be in a Metatron workshop, go find one, because this is not one. And I want you to all know that, because there's at least one or two individuals who unfortunately are being moved in that way. And whoever you are, if you are here because you genuinely want to learn this and care, fine, you're welcome. But if you are here because you're actually devoted to one of the things that we've already identified as Christfall stuff, and all you're trying to do is implant people and collect head count for Sovereign Fall, I think you're in the wrong place. So you make up your mind about that, but it needed to be addressed, because believe me, it is known, and it jigs up on that. Everybody just, watch your fields. At this point, be loving to everybody. Don't worry about who it is or pointing fingers. That's not what it's about. What it's about is getting control of your own fields and stop inflicting your fields on other people, whoever you are. Be you an Azerite or a Metatronic, it doesn't matter. So please, because there was several implant attempts, on people, and they were coming up, and it was actually hurt. They were feeling physically hurt and physically ill from it. And this type of stuff is just not going to be tolerated in our workshops. So let that be known to whoever is still going to Metatronic workshops too, and they think they're both great, or they like them better than us. That's fine. You can like Metatron better than us. We don't care. We care about you anyway. But you will not. Bad behavior as far as harming other people in our groups is not tolerated, and it will come to our attention. And if particular individuals are brought to our attention, it's kind of like a 3 strikes and you're out one. We will ask you privately to please, not be here if you're going to be doing that. So we just ask everybody to be on proper spiritual behavior and being nice to each other, which means not trying to implant each other with anything. It's called spiritual respect. Now, back to our sponsored program. Thank you. Didn't mean to be a bit intense there, but it needed to be said. Yes. So for everybody else who doesn't want any Metatronic implant posse problems, just keep your Christ star activated. You know what I mean? Like when you go out for a break, just amplify it a bit, that kind of thing. And take responsibility for your own fields. And then even if those attempts are made to you, it will not harm you. It will bounce off. And I feel bad for people who still get used in that way by the FA forces. You might have had 20 years studying with fallen angelics calling themselves angels, and guides that became your buddies that are teaching you how to do your Merkaba wrong, and they're teaching you how to implant people, and they're teaching you all sorts of stuff. Well, if that's where you're at, why do you want to be in one of our workshops? If you want to learn, you're welcome. So I don't want to offend the people who might have been involved with that or who still are. All I'm asking you to is be respectful when you are among our people, as we would among yours. So anyway, again, back to our sponsored show. Shut up now. All right, back to the axiotonal line systems and the natural way they are supposed to flow, where you have actually 6 lines on each side of the body. So it's not just on each side; it actually goes around the body. You know, like they go around; they're not just flat in you, right? They run. I don't have the diagrams that show if you took a leg off and looked at it this way, where you'd have the lines running down. But so it is a 3-dimensional setup as far as height with depth stuff. But we will be working with these on the D2 level in the end tomorrow's stuff, like toward the end when we do the aquatone systems. Next one, please. Don't kill my sequence. It'll take me a half an hour. Right? You sure? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, going back to Cathara 1, where we taught how the axiotonal line systems, each one of the lines plugs into each one of the layers, the 15-dimensional layers. We only have 12 shown here, but there's actually the 13, 14, and 15 layers of our auric fields. And each of those plug in to each of the 7 embodied chakras and the morphogenetic chakras that are down below the feet and up above the head. So it's a whole integrated system. When we start working with the axiotonal lines and bringing their natural flows back, after we've done all this work on our light bodies, our spiritual bodies, and bringing back in the natural Pythagorean flows. When we do that, when we do that, it also begins the process of healing all of these systems. So we will work with the axiotonals and the chakras tomorrow in the evening. It's very interesting. I got a conversation to have. Didn't like that, I'm sorry. It had to be done. You were implanting people in our workshop. All right? Yeah, I've just got to push. All right, it's coming in right up over here. And then I could, if you want, I could trace exactly which bodies it's coming out of. I would hate to do that to the poor people who might still be in there trying to fight and get you off. But I suggest you back off. Big nasty cloud that was. Yeah. Alrighty. Yeah, it was actually trying to push at me and trying to do the whack it out. So you get hit where you lose track of what you're saying and that kind of stuff. So if I have to do that on occasion, I got in the early days before I knew how bad the drama was down here. I got whacked pretty hard in Manchester, where I literally, my whole body started shaking. I got hit so badly, and there was these things, they called them chompers. I don't know what they hit me with, but they were trying to chew holes in my entire auric field. And I had to literally stop the workshop and go out in the parking lot. And then our guys came in and talked to me. That's when they told us, they gave us the order, you have to go home now. Cancel the tour. Go now. That was when the Treaty of Altair had failed. So that, if I have to say, excuse me a minute, don't, and push back, just know what that's about, because I'm not going to let them do that to me again, right? Because if I get hurt, it doesn't help your shield any. You're strong enough that if I got hurt, you would still be able to hold your own, all right? And Az would be able to hold his own. But it helps to have the amplification that when my fields are in good shape and not having to do direct combat, kind of like Ninja in the Sky stuff you end up with. You're doing have Russian ninjas flying around doing the thing like in the Matrix movies where they're up and over and yeah. And I'm really bored with the whole fight drama, so please just be nice or go home, whichever. I'm not talking either to the 3D people down here. If, the ones who are misfortunate enough to have that kind of energy connecting to you through cords, you are still welcome to be here, and we still care about you. And if you want help from getting free from that, you're in the right place. If you just came to work with, if they're your buddies up there, and you just came to try to take other people out, we will eventually just expose that, and you really wouldn't want to have to deal with that on the 3D level. So if you don't want to be here, don't be. And Metatron, back off. Anyway, so it will all of the healings that we are working with achieving now will affect from the axia tone lines, go through all of the outer light body systems that we've been learning about since Kathara 1, including the Kathara center structures, which will put back the natural Alaria Rashatan coding into the Kathara centers. Well, we'll look at more tomorrow of some of the good stuff that will do, because it has to do with those primary flows that go through the Kathara grid. It'll actually turn back on the one that goes through the heart, not the heart chakra, but the eighth Kathara center that has been off in the whole Amente program since in the third seating. We have not had those flows open because of the reversal on the planetary monad. We will be able to now turn those flows back on for the first time, because we are now not being fueled anymore by our connection to Earth's core. We are being fueled by our connection to median ascension Earth's core, and that has the natural pattern. So this is good. Anyway, next one. I want to get through this quick enough so we can do this, because I don't like this bit that's happening, and I want to, while you're awake, while you still have energy and you're not too tired, I want to get you through that activation, whereas reach this activation, because that will give you strength right there. Once that's done, there's not much they're going to be able to do as far as implanting, because it will bounce back out, and in fact, it might bounce back out with a twist and nail the person who actually did it, and I would hate for that to happen. So if anybody's implanting around here, you really don't want to do that in the frequencies that are going to be activated here, because if you've done something to someone, even if it's unknowingly, just keep your hands to yourself is what it comes down to, right? A lot of it's the touchy, right? Especially the shoulder touch stuff, or one of those back pat type things, or even standing in line somewhere, just little. These kind of things, right? If we can all just be a little bit kind of like, when you're in kindergarten, everybody has to keep your hands to yourself for a while, right? Right? No hitting and biting and that kind of stuff. Well, it's kind of like a grown-up version of that, where if we could just be aware right now that it's important so nobody gets used to cause any harm. Obviously, the Metatronic crew are very upset about the fact that we are activating this on the D2 level, because one of the things that they did tell me that I wasn't going to talk about tomorrow was that this will begin to bounce the possessions. They won't be able to tolerate being in the physical body, because we are taking back the D2 level of the vagus nerve, and that has been the thing they have used to actually come in and access the physical body from the inside to create the possessions. So a little resistance in this case, I suppose, would be expected, but while you're still awake, I want to get you to where you get at least your D2 window open, right? And the more of the activations... kind of like before the ship hits the fan. Because I can feel it building with these guys. These guys just don't quit. It's like that commercial with Sigourney Weaver in it. Some kind of cable commercial. Anyway, back to this. This, again, for those who don't know, these figure 8 shaped things, each of these run the Illyrian chambers, as do these. These are all part of the core flows. The figure 8 type ones are called the Navajo core flows. They actually run the core energies from the domain bodies, going back from like your core domain to your inner domain to your middle domain to your outer domain out here bodies. So you got those 12. And this is what the Alaria Rashatan works specifically with certain ones. I think I have that. Is that the next one that's coming up? I don't know. I think I have to look on that. Anyway, this pattern and these flows are part of what the Alaria Rashatan turns on, and also these. And these are all simply part of the core flows of, see there's a circle here, right? A circle that big would be on each of those Illyrian chamber lines. They create what are called the Hara bodies that run a whole vector line. A vector line is one full line. This is where we get the adjugate stuff that we've talked about too, where there's adjugate numbers. If you have a 12 there, its adjugate is 6, and vice versa. These are all spheres of energy, and when you see all of these, I don't have the diagrams because I wasn't really planning to cover having to go into spiritual body anatomy again, but just to touch base for people who might not have seen it before. There is a sphere around every one of these, and that sphere, those spheres all together represent what we call the Lumeridana spirit body structure. Within that structure forms the Auger body and the light body structures that we are dealing with now. And we have one of these sets of core flows and spirit bodies on each of the density levels, and like smaller versions of them on each of the dimensional levels. And they're all part of a larger one. And the whole cosmos is actually structured like this. We're on the cosmic level, you can tell what vector we're in. For instance, we're in vector 4, or we're on vector 410, and we're in the fourth event horizon. So we would be on, if this is 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, this would be ours here, where our actually universe is taking place. Our universe happens to be, by the way, M31, what they call the Andromeda Galaxy, for those who don't know. And we are in the Milky Way galaxy, which actually fell and was pulled out of it by that black hole at its center, which is called the Procyon black hole. So there's a whole huge cosmic level of this, and universal and galactic and planetary, as well as our own personal version of it, and they're all reflections of each other, because it's not just our planet that has messed up grids, it is the galaxy as well. The Milky Way galaxy has a black hole at its center. Science has already identified that. That black hole was not natural. It is not an organic structure. It is causing the fall of the galaxy. There are 220 years left before this becomes a closed system. No ascension will take place from it. And that is why we're doing the work that we are doing now, to get the people's bodies who can bring back the healing into a place where they can help portions of the planet to heal, so they can shift out while the rest shifts closed. Next one, please. I don't think I want to go into that pile. I'm going to save those. I'll deal with more of the Vegas tomorrow. Yeah, there's more to come on the Vegas. Let me see. There's a couple. This I want to show them this stuff. Yeah, and then we'll deal with the rest tomorrow. I just want to show them. Okay, we've seen how some of the body structure is supposed to work. Okay, these will, and once we get into those, we can put those for tomorrow too. All right? Yeah. No, what I'm doing here first. No, wait a minute. These look like they're upside down. Okay. All right. Yeah, let's start there. Okay, next few to come. I think I'm going to need the one on top that has the windows on it that I used like first. Where's the first stuff?
Here. These ones we already done.
The ones we did before the break.
Oh, they're up there.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. We're just figuring out which parts are most important for the activation, so we'll do these next. Next one, please. Top one. Thank you. Now, when it comes to our bodies, we've talked about how things are supposed to work and how the flows are supposed to work. This is this structure here. It's called the daisy of death configuration. This is the structure of energy flows, perverted energy flows, that are running in our teleospheres. Remember that teleosphere that connects in with the Tiwa fields and such? That holds the program that organizes the atoms into structures and, substances and structures. This is the daisy of death. It's from one of the Metatronic teachings, and it actually compacts and squashes in the Cathara grid, shuts off part of its natural Cathara structure, completely changes the proportions with which the Pythagorean systems interact with each other, the angles of interface, and it completely makes an unnatural kind of matter. Next one, please. We still have a bit of our flows on the normal level going, though. Now, what this looks like inside. This is a diagram from the Cathara 1 book, right? The Cathara 1 book showed you had 5 axiatonal lines on each side, and 11 and 12 are wrapped around the middle. And they're also in a very strange numbering order, right? It has nothing to do with the normal if you have like 6 in the front, 3 over here. It's like, how did they get axiatonals that did that? Well, it's through the mutation that they're done. This is the caduceus, right? These are line 11 and 12 wrapped around on the inside of our main vertical current. These plug into the vagus nerve system that controls literally a lot of the body functions. It's the interface between the D2 level, the telluric body, and the mental body. It used to be a different organ that was natural, and now it is not. Now it runs these currents. These run all these nasty little spiraling currents all the way around the body. It's an artificial electromagnetic field that is running around the body. It creates this nasty loop. Instead of the big out the lines and back in, all of this natural breathing, it creates this regurgitation system, and it feeds off whatever quantum was trapped in the fetal integration process. And when that quantum is gone, the body dies. And this circulation here is completely unnatural. It's part of this. Honey, can you move it up so I can see this? It creates a net field, an artificial electromagnetic net field right around your body. Now, these diagrams are ones that the Metatronic people are actually teaching us how it's supposed to be. So make your choice, guys. But personally, I prefer breathing instead of stationary, right? Yeah. Anyway, these are some of the things that it does in the body and to the body. Next one, please. One before that, please. There's another one. Get that off, please, for a minute. Thank you. No, that goes this way. Yeah, I guess without the words, it doesn't matter which way you put it. Still working on this. But, yeah, keep going. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Right. All right, no. Right there. Right. Thank you. Okay. Now, what this is going to be eventually is this would be our natural structure of our density level, and then our D3 and our D2 and our D1. What we're seeing here is this mutation creates a split into what's called a Vesica Pisces phase-locked split on the D1 level, on the D2 level, and on the D3 level. So we literally have these two unnatural spheres of energy that create the circulation of the yin-yang symbol, which is actually a regurgitation of the same energy. It's actually about two same spin sets of circles. We are locked into this. And the top one actually had its pentagal, that's the word, pentagal flows still in the natural configuration with like top up. This one the top has been twisted down, and they're on reverse current, and they're squashed into where they don't interact with each other with the top points of the stars going into the next field above. They're phase locked as if something's sitting on your head and blocking that flow. And that's why we can't remember our D2 level of consciousness, and it can't remember its D3 level. So all of the parts of ourselves forget what we're a part of, and we're kind of like adrift in these spaces of consciousness sandwiched into this molecular structure. What this creates is this one down here, that it has the upside down star, actually takes part of the natural Jari energy that would come in from our center and twist it in reverse to create the Jarosh. The Jarosh is not just our reverse Jari. It's once you reverse it, it pulls in unnatural atomic structures from the planetary grids and embeds them into your body. So you got God knows whose karma stuck in your body, because whatever's floating around in the atmosphere, in the substance that the earth is made out of, because there have been so many people buried on this planet and left their bodies in the body state. There's all sorts of, let's say, of a body looking for a home, right? That should have been released, went back to its original parent donation self, but never did. So we're actually taking on karmic imprints of everything that has been here. Yeah, so a lot of the karma that you have in your body isn't even yours, and it's held in your body by the part of your own spirit identity that's connected with, directly into your atoms, that has been put on reverse and draws in artificial, unnatural things. That's connected again to the vagus nerve system and the other things it's connected to that allow other things bigger who do want to come into your body direct access to the physical body. The funny thing is, I love this about the smoking thing. We don't endorse smoking, by the way. It's kind of like, it has been a tool for me. I smoke like a chimney. Why? Because I needed to keep clear fields. There are other ways to do it. The more we build up the energy, I'm not saying go out and smoke, but it creates astral mucus in the field, which works like the little tin hats do, all right? Where it makes a barrier that when they're hitting you with psychotronics, it doesn't make them work as much. And that's why the Metatronic troops hate smoking, right? Whole world campaign at this point to stop smoking, right? It's not about, it's bad for your health. It's bad for your mind control, all right? Yeah, it's not great for your health. It does tax the system. I'm not saying go out and smoke. But I am saying, please have little tolerance for smokers, because maybe they're trying to keep themselves in body, and that right now, that is helping them at the moment until they can upgrade to where it's a better thing. Because that's another thing that you like to, how can you smoke? My gods tell me I should do this and that kind of stuff. Well, whatever. Go ahead. I'm sure if you're doing Metatron, they're going to tell you not to smoke, because it depends on getting psychotronicked all the time. If you want to get your bodies back, you don't have to go out and smoke cigarettes. They're good in an emergency where you feel something's coming in at you and you want to try to block it. We teach the techniques that once you get these down and get these flows open in your field, you don't have to go grab a cigarette to do it. I have not had the luxury of running through all these techniques before I got the techniques through, so I had to make do with what was available. And yes, it helped. Eventually, yes, I'll quit. And because it does. It's hard on the lungs, it is hard for the body, but it kept me in body and other things that didn't belong here out. So people who like to make judgments about smokers, especially the Metatronic wine crew, I'm so tired of listening to that. And the disrespect toward other people. Oh, I'm so much better. I don't smoke. Oh, and I'm a vegetarian too, I'm sure. Right? Oh, yeah, I forgot vegetables had faces too. Anyway, you don't need to... Sorry about that. And believe me, I'm not endorsing smoking. It's a miserable habit. You cough a lot and that kind of stuff. So the techniques are better for you than the cigarettes, but at least you have them and to work with. Where when I started, I didn't, and now I've never had time to sit down and work with myself personally because I'm always doing mad dash through the workshop and getting the next level transmission done for the next workshop and stuff. One of these days, I will be able to sit down, amp with the techniques enough where I can quit smoking too, which I'd like to do because I'll get my singing voice back. Right? So, anyway, this split field is what we're having a problem with. It's three-dimensional levels of the split, each one of them surrounded by a teleosphere that doesn't look like our natural catharogrid structure teleosphere. It looks like that nasty daisy of death pattern teleosphere where you've got these nasty phase-locked flowers all over the place, which we call the daisy of death, right? Because they can't breathe. They're phase-locked. They can't phase. Their arcs can't go up and down and move. And we've taught all of this stuff for ages now about the difference between the Christic and the anti-Christic programs. And the Metatronic program is an anti-Christic program. And that doesn't mean, oh, you just believe in good and evil. No, we all came from the same place. We did. We still do. However, some people would prefer to ascend to get back home instead of go be masters of the universe until they explode their little universe and they go back home as space dust. Either way, we're all going to go home eventually. Next one, please. Now, yeah. This is messy because I didn't have time. I don't have time to make any of these fancy right now. Someday to make a great picture book. All of them, if we ever got them, cleaned up. Anyway, this is showing our poor little, what's really strange is this diagram has something to do with a configuration somewhere in the English grids. Remember, there was something about this. The shape was actually a symbol that's in one of the English grids that had to do with Albion. Yeah, Albion is the old name for England, right? In Britain. I didn't know that. We got this in for the last workshop. We didn't know about any of that. And they were telling us about the treaty, the new treaty of the Tothians and some of those coming in that don't want to be eaten by the white dragon, red dragon fall totally thing. They're going to fall, but they don't want to go that far, right? Our guys had said they'd spelled it Albanian, right? Like AL-BEN-YHAN, I believe was the spelling. And then comes this pamphlet thing from somewhere that I think Sue sent it to us because she'd found it. That's before she knew about the Albanian Treaty or anything, right? She sends it to us right before the workshop. Oh, by the way, look at there's this like grid walking thing that they're happening. They're going to go like activate the grids associated with this, and they call it the Wounded Giant. Isn't that sweet? Right? Wounded indeed. This is what our fields look like. This is what Earth looks like. Earth's fields, well, it doesn't have like hands and things, but you get the idea. But the names were fascinating to me. The fact that the Treaty of Albanian is what it's called, and this is called the Wounded Giant of Albion, the old name for England that's plugged into the Michael Mary line grids and stuff. So it's just like, oh, another one of those coincidences. Just like we got the coincidence when we got here. When, oh, by the way, there's another piece of the program. Here, read that. And, Jared and Will had given us this thing about this moment of silence and then global healing meditation going to be done, inviting everyone. So Beloveds wanted that on the program. So it's another one of those. It's always a little surprise that we find out right when the workshop starts. So this is the mess we've got. We've got the part of our field that is still running it's still squashed. It's not plugging into the dimensional levels like it should. It's a pentagram on the top, and it's got an upside down pentagram on the bottom. You could almost look at it like we're split between Drac and Anu FA coding, because the Anu green ones would be this one, and the Drac would be the upside down one. If we remember any of the stuff that we learned from Paxos and stuff, when we talked about the blue sword of Archangel Michael on the Anu side, and then the Spear of Destiny on the Drac side, this would plug in, this one, the upside down red one, would plug in to the Spear of Destiny red grids that go with the red dragon teams that are now in cahoots and being taken over actually by the whites. And this part would go with the green dragon teams. Neither of them are natural parts of our configuration, but they are what our body is phase locked into now. When they get you to spin your Merkabahs, what they're actually trying to do is get to the point where you get the bottom one spinning and the top one spinning, and it creates you create a same spin spiral set, and they bring them together into one through this, right through here, right where your Azure lives, right? Bring them together, compact the whole system together, get it on a 55 spin, and that's at the point where the whole harness field activates and it can be rolled and taken elsewhere. Oh, that's the point where you can go through gates. Yes, gates that lead down into the Procyon matrix. And they don't teach you any of that. They never teach you there's a difference. Of course they wouldn't. They're teaching the negative stuff. They're teaching the stuff that's trying to hurt you. And anybody with a brain, when you see the difference, is not going to choose to do that to themselves. Anyway, next one, please. That's it? Ooh, okay. So what showing you these has accomplished is it's got across to you the structures in the field that have been distorted, that create that portion of our own twisted spirit body energy connected to our matter body that is called the Jarosh, and that twists a part of our mana into being Mani, which is a solidified, much more heavy, solid matter substance. So we're literally... it's not just our own spirit body that is involved in the Jari. The Jari gives that open invitation for other elements to come into the body. Some of them fragmented, others of them very, very conscious about what they're doing. This is how the body snatches are done and all of that. So this is the beginning. What we started, we've been working to clear this for 10 years now, layer by layer by layer. And finally, we are at the core layers that will get these doors open and get these axiotonal lines back online, which means the chakras will get back online, which means the auric field levels will get back online, which means we will have the power in our bodies to begin getting rid of that stuff that doesn't belong in there, setting free the parts of God knows whose karma we've picked up out of the planetary grids just from weird little atoms bonding to us that shouldn't be, and we'll be able to get the strength of our own Jari back. Because the idea is to clear to be able to separate the Jari, the natural Jari that is right now it's actually being like the bond that's holding together all the artificial stuff, our twisted piece, the Jarosh, to bring it back around so it's Jari again, so we don't lose that Jari quantum, and then that will set free the other stuff that doesn't belong there, that's attaching to it, so it frees the Jarosh part, takes back the Jari that the Jarosh was using to make itself, and that will bring the mana back around. So instead of every time we breathe, our bodies are manufacturing artificial components that are actually draining the heck out of our mana seed, our Xeon, where we end up with hitting the point of depletion where you can't bring it back around. It will begin the process of stopping that process in the body. The process will be slow. It'll still be every time we breathe. Why? Because we're on a planet that you can't fix the grids to that level in. So we will always be not fighting the planet, but having to counterbalance ourselves with that. Our fields will always go back into the reversible, then we got to bring them back again, right? But it doesn't mean you have to do techniques for the next 20 billion years, 5 times a day and just quit your day job and live in a cave. It doesn't mean we have to do that. These activations are the most powerful. Every time we have a workshop, the next level of activations are brought in. These we have been waiting for a long time, because these are the ones that finally give us direct access into the physical body. So, enough said as far as the technical, so you understand what we're doing. We are going to open, in this one tonight, we are going to open the Grual window, the Holy Grail window. That window in the exercises tomorrow, after a couple other things we need to do to get into the Grual state before we can do the opening of the door. But tomorrow we will open, and I think it's the fourth one? Yeah, the fourth one of the side techniques is the opening of the doorway. And that's when we blend the D2 window, the D3 window, and it opens up the whole chute. It opens up the smaller window of the D1 and the big one, the Jada window of the astral connection. So we get the whole pillar opened. And this will allow us to then use certain types of aquatone healings that we'll go into after that. We may be doing those, running those live. I don't know if I'll have time to type those up yet for you, but you will get the program of how to use what parts of what of these techniques that we are learning to keep the activation sustained without having to drive yourself crazy for with doing technique always and always and always. So there's a lot to go through from here. This is the first. We had the preliminary techniques to get that D3 window open. Now it is time to get the D2 Gruel or Grail window open, and that just begins the process of finally ending up and getting the whole set of doors open. And from that point, we will be able to do a biological bilocation slide. And we will be working with the Beloveds. When we go to the Kivas, I have a feeling we're going to pick up a connection with them where they can start working with you more personally, where you can start getting a secured line more. So if they guide you, they give you certain codes for your body where you got a secure enough line where you can trust those, that kind of thing. So a lot to come, and I'm going to disappear and go back up to step 48, I think, in technique 3 that we need tomorrow, right? Yeah, and then there's part B to technique 4. And then there's, of course, the 4 aquatone ones that I have to get down before I see you again. So I won't have the luxury of staying and getting this activated for me tonight. I've got it on a subharmonic run, which is good enough.